Don't take no for an answer. There's no telling where we've been. And all I know is that if you can't find me, you may never want to find me again. 'Cause people don't understand. People don't understand. People like me.
What up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back here, and it is the first Barroom podcast of 2023. I know a lot of crazy shit has happened in the last 72 hours, and maybe you guys need just a little bit of a release, a little bit of a take your mind off of something else. But we're here back with episode 30. We've made it all the way to 30 episodes here on the Barroom podcast, and we're back, ladies and gentlemen. So, quick little introduction. Let's go ahead and give everyone a shout out here who's here with us on the show tonight. Our good buddy Rob Motto is joining us once again, all the way back home from the holidays. How was your holiday break, I guess I should say?
Yeah, it was good. Good to see the family. Good to travel. A lot of dumb shits wearing masks, and me trying not to make fun of them or get kicked off the plane, for saying shit. So yeah, it was good. It was good.
One. And then joining us all the way from the East Coast, new perm and always suffering Jets fan is Miss Cole Classic Cage. How you doing?
Yeah, it was good. Just chilling. And yes, I actually cut my hair. My best friend was making fun of me for a while. She said I gave myself an emo haircut, so it's just like
you did.
Close enough, I guess, to what I wanted.
It's time to lean in, right, Cass?
Pretty much.
Our good buddy Orange Hat is here with us this week. How you doing, Orange?
I'm good. Just still bitching about how my laptop's charger busted, so I'm on the phone tonight for y'all.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look at the bright side. At least your pipes didn't burst during the worst cold storm of the entire year. So, I mean, it could always be worse.
Yeah, it could.
And then, of course, the lovely Nerdigans is joining us here tonight. How you doing, Nerdigans?
Good. Survived the storm. That is, it's not raging as badly as it was on New Year's. But, yeah, there's been flooding not too far from me on the 99. So there's been lots of flooding, and Lugia has been flying outside my window somewhere.
So you should see the storm we're dealing with here in Georgia right now. Like, never watch like the weather map and the whole map is red. That's what we're dealing with right now.
Yeah, you got an Articuno over on the East Coast. We got a Lugia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We got an Articuno and a Zapdos happening at the same time out here. So. And then, of course, Miss C.S. Johnson. How you doing tonight?
Hi, how are you, society? I'm good.
I'm hanging in there. Obviously, the reason why we didn't do the show last week, I should say, is because, right at the holiday break, I got some pretty bad news family-wise, and it was a pretty rough time, obviously, for you guys who know in the chat. So I had a pretty sick relative that, I'm still dealing with taking care of. So it's been a rough few weeks, but I felt like, I didn't want to just sit out for a number of weeks and not do the show because, I know a lot of you guys out there are going through some rough times in the in the holidays. You're probably dealing with, loved ones who are sick or loved ones who are lost. And look, we're all here to come here for a good, 2 or 3 hours, have some fun, get our mind off of, real life shit. So if we can keep that going, I'm more willing to do that. And shout out to our good buddy, Spencer too, who I know, look, I give Spencer all the shit all the time, but I know he's dealing with some tough things with his family right now. So hopefully things turn around for him because he's pretty much the backbone and the workhorse of our bounding in the comics. I like to take as much credit as I possibly can, and I never shy away from taking credit when I don't deserve it for bounding, but that dude's really the backbone there. So hopefully things turn around for him as well. So look, I know we're all kind of on a down note, especially if you guys saw what happened on Monday night and that whole crazy situation. So I know we need some fun here, but before we get started here, I do want to give a shout out to one little person who decided to join us here tonight. And right before we went live, as I hit the intro, I look at our notification box and I see a notification here from a Curse Hargett. And I'm like, That guy looks like a handsome older fella. It's like maybe that looks like someone who may be related to someone who we know. And then all of a sudden, our good buddy Sarah decides to join the show. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the guess that that's your dad, and he decided to join us here for our lovely show here tonight. How you doing, Sarah?
I'm doing good, and yes, that is my dad. Hi.
What's
Hi.
up?
This is your second appearance here on the Barroom Podcast. So how you feeling?
Good. I'm glad I could join y'all tonight.
I know you've been busy working on a lot of things, so I'm glad you were able to join us here tonight. And hopefully, this is not the last time we see you here in the next week or so.
For that.
Quick little shout out to our guys in the chat who are back with us. I know it's been a little while, so give a quick little shout out to our boy Neo, who's here. Happy New Year for him. We got Cassie in the chat right now. Spencer, who's obviously in the chat. Hopefully, Spencer's doing well for us tonight. Duke Nukem, who's joining us here once again, who officially said that he is pro-Russia. That's the first comment of 2023. Yeah, episode 30. Like I said, this whole thing's flying by. It felt like it was only a few weeks ago. It was basically like me, Rob, and I don't even know who was the other guy who joined us. May have been Johnson, may have been somebody else at this point. But yeah, it's kind of grown quite a bit over the last few weeks. It says Moltres is going to take California's forest. Don't worry. Yeah, that's going to be in a few months. Not exactly right now.
Yeah, nah, it's going to be we very much needed Lugia. We've been in a drought for God knows how long. We needed it, but the levees had to flood as well. So in the process.
And see, Sarah, even though you were only on our show just one time in the 30 times that we've done this, you still have some fans out there that remember you. So
I'm famous.
Episode 30 of the Barroom Podcast. Yeah, so let's go ahead and get this whole thing started. I'm not sure exactly how we want to start this show, but let's go ahead and start it off with, I guess, someone who's probably been blocked by everyone here on the show, Mr. Dan Slott, who spurred out over the weekend about She-Hulk. So if you guys don't know, She-Hulk was arguably the worst thing that I've ever seen from the MCU. It's probably the worst television show I've ever seen in my entire life. And I've thought really, really hard about any show that may have been worse than that, but I can't think of anything that was worse than that entire show. Like I said, I reviewed all the episodes for Bounding in the Comics before I came along. We had never given anything a 0 out of 10 rating. I gave 3 of those episodes a 0 out of 10, and Spencer had to watch the entire show too for editing purposes. So he knows just how bad this show is. But Dan Slott and the Funky Bunch out there cannot let go of the fact that people don't like the show and it's terrible. And he's gone on just absolutely insane on social media, blocking anyone he possibly can right now, even people who have never talked to him ever in his life, because he wants you to know that She-Hulk is the most comic accurate TV series ever. Apparently, this is his words. Now, this is from Comic Book TV, so keep in mind this is who we're dealing with here. But he says the 9-episode first season, arguably the only season that you're going to get of She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, arrived on Disney Plus last fall, and it defied expectations surrounding the Marvel Cinematic Universe. It's like, okay, guys, like really, like we're not even one sentence into this. You guys are already hamming it up. Jennifer Walters, who was not a superhero throughout that entire course of that show, who outright rejected the idea of heroism every time she possibly could, and basically just whined about the people who slept with her and didn't call her back. Had his bizarre moments and delightful moments. I say it was mostly shit. While the show earned a lot of praise from fans and critics alike, that's fucking cap. Its meta villains were met with social media backlash from trolls, of course, because you have to be a troll in order to not like this show. So Dan Slott, who is a Marvel writer who's just an absolute lunatic, who's been a villain of comic books in the last 6 or 7 years. If you're aware of guys like your boy Zach, Ethan Van Sciver, Yellow Flash, you probably have heard Dan Slott's name many times over the years. But he's saying, defending the show, saying that anyone who's saying that She-Hulk wasn't comic book accurate, he's a guy who has written more issues of She-Hulk than anyone. I've read every single comic book in the She-Hulk run. I'm saying, for the record, it is the most accurate comic book show in the MCU. Whatever, Dan. Whatever you say. He said that's not the point. Nobody's arguing that. Yes, they were a lot. That's what Dan Slott has to say there.
Oh, you should see the hill he's he's dying on right here in regards to the twerking. And then he was trying to compare it to the stripper pole scene in Iron Man, and I was dying.
Yeah. I mean, I have a hard time. Yeah, we'll get to him in a second. I'll let you go. But yeah, people have been trying to prop up this awful show. You've seen this with a lot of things. You've seen this with like The Last Jedi and Rings of Power, where obviously these shows have a very heavy agenda against people who these people don't like. So they go out of their way to pretend like this is one of the greatest shows that they've ever seen, without just coming to the realization, hey, look, this is a dog shit show. This show only existed because the terrible writer Jessica Gal decided that she wanted to use this show to attack men, to attack internet trolls. Like literally every single episode of this show is about how terrible men are and how awful they are. And you think to yourself, this is supposed to be a superhero show about a superhero, but there's no heroism anywhere. Like we literally spend an entire episode with Jen crying in a cabin about a guy who slept with her and didn't call her back. That was literally an entire episode of this show. But because, like I said, they go after quote unquote sexist man babies, we have to prop up the show and defend the show at all costs, which means that anyone who doesn't like this is a troll or incel, whatever it is you want to throw out there. This show sucked. It clearly sucked, and there's word that there's not going to get a season 2 because who really wants to watch this? The answer is absolutely fucking no one. But Dan Slott has been spurging out on Twitter as much as he possibly can, trying to defend this crap. Orange Hat, I want to start with you as far as this whole situation goes. What do you think of Dan Slott having the audacity to claim that She-Hulk is the most comic accurate TV show in the MCU? Just go ahead and start.
Well, I have watched She-Hulk, and I thought it was not good. It looked like freaking 80s or 80s CG, for crying out loud. Not to mention, I haven't been blocked by that guy. I'm hoping he will block me eventually, but I responded to him. It's like, if you really have read all of the She-Hulk material, you would have read a comic from the Hulk series called World War Hulk. She tried punching out her cousin. Didn't get anywhere. He grabs her by the head and puts her face first, like 3 or 4 feet concrete deep. And so with that in mind, him going up against her in the show, where she's actually holding her own. Obviously, he may be holding back, but in this case, it would have been a way, or he should have just freaking humbled her ass and said, "Just because you're a Hulk does not mean you are the shit, woman."
Yeah.
But honestly, Dan Slott really has an ego trip. There's a lot of that going around. 2023 is not really starting off on a good note when it comes to ego. Especially in the celebrity area. But yeah, this dude has no idea, or he may say that he's read all the She-Hulk stuff and maybe even written it, who knows, but he honestly has no idea what the hell he's talking about, because obviously he hasn't read it all, because he kind of missed a key point where Hulk face planted his cousin through concrete. Yeah.
Well, keep in mind, this is a show that literally started out episode 1. And there was argument, I think me and Spencer talked about this, where I believe they were supposed to go a different direction entirely with the series, but because of the initial reaction that the first few episodes got, they ended up switching a lot of the stuff out of order. So he knows, like in the very first episode, She-Hulk is fighting Titania in the courtroom, and that whole confrontation just comes out of nowhere. It makes no sense, because I think that was supposed to happen in a later episode, and they decided to pull it back in the first. But then not only that, but she's starting off the entire show by yelling at Bruce Banner, the Hulk, saying that she knows how to handle her anger better than him because she's dealt with sexist men her entire life. And this is a guy who's probably been the most traumatic character in the history of the MCU, maybe short of Black Widow, who has felt more trauma than this character. And she's literally lecturing to him because she gets catcalled at work and she got passed over by a promotion at her law firm. It's like, who writes shows like this? Like, this this is terrible writing from start to finish. But like I said, they're going after the people who they don't like, so we have to pretend like this show is actually good. Cassie, I remember you were saying something regarding Dan Slott as a writer. I know you kind of got into it with him as well. So what is your thoughts on his comments?
On my old Twitter account, he blocked me because I said it sucked having to see Spider-Man dating a midget. I told him that. He got really upset. He lectured me about how the word midget is completely unacceptable, and then he blocked me, which is hilarious. And now I think he blocked me again on Twitter on my new account. So I got 2 blocks from Dan Slott. I've earned my keep. Being counterculture, but Dan Slott is just the type of dude that he just goes with the status quo. He's a fucking loser. I'm pretty sure he's extremely overweight and probably defends it, so automatically you're on my shit list there. And he's just not really a good writer to begin with, so of course I'm not surprised that he gargles She-Hulk's ball sack from this bitch ass show. But what can you do? I honestly am not at all surprised. It's Dan Slott. Dan Slott does this bullshit.
Yeah. Well, Sarah, do you have any knowledge in the world of comic books? Is this something in your expertise?
I've never even heard of Dan Slott before. What is his actual job?
You're
He writes
lucky.
the comics?
Yeah,
So comic book writer, editor. He's worked for Marvel, like Spencer said in the chat. He's done some comic books. They're not necessarily good, but he has done some name books, and he's a guy who does have some power like in the industry as well. So he's basically one of your guys on Twitter who over the last few years has gone after numerous content creators who have pointing out that comic books just aren't as good as they used to be, and that a lot of these things that are being written and animated are just absolute garbage. I mean, I think I saw a comic book panel earlier today. I'm not sure if anyone else saw this, where the Joker is pregnant now for some weird reason, some weird offshoot. Oh yeah, this is an actual thing that happened. I might have to look for it, but go ahead and I guess Nerdigans can go ahead and educate you guys on the history of Mr. Dan Slott here while I go look for that picture.
I don't have that much of a history with Dan Slott. I just learned about him yesterday, but
well, we already know that's more than enough time for you to know this dude's complete life history. Okay, that's more than enough.
But like, here's the thing that's funny though. I quote tweeted him and asked Neon from Clownfish TV and Comics by Perch, and I think it was like the MJ Tanner twins about him. About if he was right. Neon said that he was blocked by it. He had no idea why because he interacted with him. And Comics by Perch was like, dude, I blocked him like a long ass time ago so I didn't have to put up with this fuckery. So that sounds like that's all you need to know. And something else I saw though as I was going through his tweets, because I was trying to find out like who he was talking about in terms of neck fears. And well,
I mean, he's talking about himself. I mean, what is he
saying that for one person in particular? It's like, well, there's some questionable people that you follow, and bounding into comics was in his post.
Yeah.
And same with Yellow Flash, and I think it was Clownfish TV and someone else. I can't remember, but yeah, I wonder if that's.
So here's the comic I was just talking about here. This is from a poster, Teresa Campanella. I'm not sure if that's her real name or not. It says, today DC released a comic in which the Joker becomes pregnant and gives birth to a mud monster who transforms into a child version of himself who he adopts as a son. I don't know how much longer I can do this. And then here's the actual panel here. Let me see if I can enlarge this so you guys can see it. But this is an actual thing that happened. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So
I saw it off Chester Bell.
Yeah, like I was like, this can't be real. Like this has to be someone fucking with me, but apparently it's legit. So yeah, this is what comic books have to come.
I'm convinced in order to be a writer for like DC or Marvel, I think it's a requirement that you must be like autistic or something. Like at this point, that's the only people. It is. It is, and I'm sorry, like autistic people, but I feel as that what is worse than that? Like, I feel like these people are just completely just long gone. Bye-bye. Like, mentally, they've left the building. and for some reason they think that they're actually sane. I think that's the crazy fucking thing. These people think that they're sane.
Yeah.
I don't. Here's the thing, though. Like, the comic books are already larger than life and crazy, and like you can do whatever you want, and you want to inject fucking social politics into it, like social justice or whatever. I don't get it. I don't understand. I didn't watch She-Hulk. I would never watch it anyway. But I've watched enough legal shows to tell you that. Guess what? Being a partner in a law firm. That takes a lot of work, and guess what? Most people that apply for it don't get it, or that are trying for that promotion. It's an incredibly hard, difficult thing to do. Is there any nuance in that? Probably not. I'm not going to watch a show, but it's like it's the very basic like critical thinking is not even there.
We used to live in a time where propaganda used to be subtle. It's not so like in your face and over your head, but now they're just beating you in the head with it, where it's like no one can even buy this shit because you're not even remotely trying to hide what you're doing anymore.
Well, it's become so propagandized on like just so like I'm a word person, okay? Like the problem with She-Hulk in general is that she's not a hero, but like a lot of people today don't know what a hero actually is, if that makes sense, because like this, like what Rob is saying about like the injection of the social justice stuff, a lot of this happens when they redefine words a little bit at a time and you pull it away from something. And we've been in the MCU long enough that we've gone from Tony Stark having like a completely world-changing perspective like arc like several times over to where he has to acknowledge his selfishness, his role in the disaster that the world faces, and then like his determination to do something about it. That's heroic when you suffer and you sacrifice and you own your own troubles that are like you're responsible for. Okay, what does She-Hulk do? That's heroic. Nothing. It's 15 years later. I don't expect that same definition for a hero to stick because politics have changed so many words in the last year. Like basic biology has changed because biology itself has not changed, but the way that people talk about, what is a woman, what is a man, those things have changed.
But see, it's perfect. It's perfect though, because what does she do? She's a woman. She's a working woman. And there you go. That's a superhero. That's their statement. That being a woman, you are a heroic being just by existing.
Well, see, that would be lovely if that was true, but it's not.
Right, of course.
My children repeatedly reframe me as the arch villain of their lives if I tell them no to something. So it's we can't live in a world where one person's hero is another person's villain. So that just doesn't work.
Well, to Dio's Zoic's point about why manga is doing better than comics, like around the same time that She-Hulk was going on, a manga called Sherry's Love is 8 Meters came out, and it's a romantic comedy about this giant woman named Sherry and her childhood friend Yumi, who's helping her, get through like school and stuff like that. That manga had a chapter where she was, just going about her morning routine, and she was just helping people and saving people. And there's a line where she was like saying, I was born into this body, and I'm just doing what I think is right. I know it's selfish of me to, save people for my own ego, but I just feel like it's the right thing to do. And I'm just like, as I'm covering this, I'm like, dude, this is more like of what She-Hulk should be than what Disney is giving you with She-Hulk.
I just want a quick little note real quick. I know Orange Hat was having some technical difficulties. He had to step out, but I did put out a link to his YouTube channel. So if you haven't subscribed to Orange Hat already, go ahead and subscribe to the link there. And then we'll go ahead and wrap this one up. Go ahead and make your point, Johnson.
Okay, and then the second part of what Dan Slott is saying is like comic book accurate. Like what other show is technically comic book accurate? I mean, I know Moon Knight is probably the one that actually came from the comics. Like, I mean, they're all comic book characters, okay? But like, is there a specific arc or like edition that he's talking about? Because that's the other thing. I was like, no, it's not accurate. I mean, her origin story's all wrong. The playfulness is all, it's very mean-spirited in many ways. So.
Well, he compared her jump roping in a bikini to twerking with Megan Thee Stallion. I was like, we're really dying on this hill today, aren't we?
Well, that's why I think I even said in the group chat, I'm like, how much blackmail does this guy, like, do they have on him for going out and defending this? I mean, like, even without having read all the comics, I would say Moon Knight is probably the one that has the better chance of being comic book accurate, because like, they tried to incorporate all three of Stephen and Mark's and Jay's, like, origin in the, at least. And because I know, like, they've had several different like, iterations of the character.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
I just want to tell John, who's in the chat right now, it's like, you have the link. If you want to jump on right now, even just for a drive-by, you can join us here real quick. But yeah, I mean, look, we all know that Dan Slott is an idiot. Anyone who knows him over the last few years know that he's a complete jackass. And anyone who's trying to back up this show by trying to gaslight you into thinking that, oh no, the critics and the fans thought this show was amazing. It's like, no, you had one Twitter account that you were propping up under the old regime that was telling you that this show was great because, oh, it taxed the man babies in the incel. This show wasn't fucking good. It's like, this show sucks ass. It's probably the worst TV show I've ever seen in my life, and I'm going to stick by that one here. And then, yeah, John said, no, I meant that Orange Hat was had to wrap up. But no, we're just getting started here. Matter of fact, we're going to jump over to our next topic. I'm not sure if you guys have picked up on this, but it seems like there's a lot of celebrities out there that are calling for boycotts over the country of Poland because they may not be as friendly to the LGBTQ community as some other Western countries. So here's the funny thing. Before we get into the meat and potatoes here of this story, here's the funny thing about Poland that a lot of people I don't think truly understand. Poland is one of those anomaly countries where they simultaneously hate communism and fascism because they've both been victims of both in their world history. So they're not, they hate commies and Nazis. So it's like you can't really put them like in a bubble by trying to like label them anti this, anti that, because this is a country that, obviously hates woke shit. They hate Russia for obvious reasons. It's like there's a lot of things that Poland doesn't like. That's what kind of makes them like special in their own country. But here we have kind of similar to what we saw here with the World Cup, where people from the West are protesting and calling for boycotts of countries that aren't so friendly to LGBTQ laws and things of that nature. Black Eyed Peas did a show in Poland where they all wore rainbow wristbands in solidarity to LGBTQ people in Poland. This is right after Mel C of the Spice Girls dropped out of an event in Poland after something came to her knowledge. That's what she claimed. But the Black Eyed Peas showed solidarity with the LGBTQ community during their appearance on Poland's New Year's Eve gig. They all wore, like I said, rainbow armbands here. They performed Where is the Love, which caused a bit of a commotion, what they say, from anti-gay activists like Poland's member of Law and Justice Party, the political party that taking steps to further marginalize LGBTQ plus people by proposing laws against the group. Now, this comes from a couple of laws that got turned down in Poland. One was obviously one measure for gay marriage, which I believe got turned down fairly recently. Then there was another one about gay adoption, like allowing gay and lesbians to adopt kids in the region too, which also got turned down by the country. There was another guy. It just blanked on my mind. It'll come back to me here in a second. But yeah, so obviously the minister there in Poland protested this, and now a lot of celebrities are starting to like pick up this theme where I guess Poland is like the new target. According to some study that I think the Huffington Post had quoted, that Poland is apparently one of the worst European countries for LGBTQ rights in the entire country. So when you compare it to like England and Germany and all these other countries, they said that Poland is the one that is the worst out of them. So there's this growing movement to kind of isolate Poland the same way with Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and other countries like that. Now, Poland is in like the Middle East where they just like outright like banned any displays of like LGBTQ affection or something like that. Like they haven't gone as far as like Russia has in the last few weeks, where Russia apparently did a law not too long ago where they just straight up banned what they call LGBTQ propaganda entirely, which means that any signs of same-sex love there is pretty much going to get you in trouble with the Russian government. This is the same government that throws you in jail for 10 years over, drug paraphernalia. So it's kind of one of those places where you don't want to end up on the wrong side of the law. But let me go ahead and start with you guys. I'll start with Rob here and kind of move around. What do you think about, I guess, progressives calling for more bans against Poland now because of their not so friendly laws with the rainbow community?
I'm not sure what this this movement towards us telling other countries. I mean, granted, militarily, we've had that relationship for a while, but this, like, where you're pushing social policy on countries that really you have no business in. I don't really get it. I mean, we've seen this with Qatar and the U.S. team, and we've seen it in smaller doses, like Chris Evans calling out the Middle East and not wanting to see Lightyear, which kind of bombed this year. So it's very weird. It's weird for celebrities to kind of project these tolerance and acceptance and all of these platitudes without ever addressing what they're actually talking about. So it's really bizarre. I don't know why, other than a sort of like globalist push for like the whole one world government. One world needs to see things the same way. You can't have individuality, to your nations anymore. You can't make up your own laws. I mean, we're seeing this again. It's I feel like it's connected to the whole like what's going on in the Netherlands right now, where they can't grow food. You know what I mean? So it's like, and I know it's a social view versus like not being able to eat is a huge difference, but it's like slowly but surely, it's like these people creep into your life, and you start,
it's a two-turn problem, because on one hand, like you said, we're starting to like push like this global one world agenda where everything's going to be done our way unless you're going to be ostracized from like the rest of the planet, essentially. And it seems to be creeping up in a lot of other countries where they're pushing back against it. Then, like I said, another thing that is I found very interesting, especially with the whole like World Cup thing, is that over the last few years, especially, we've turned like the LGBTQ community into like this global litmus test of whether you're a good person or not. Do you support gay marriage? Do you support gay adoption? Do you support drag time story hour? Do you support trans athletes playing against non-trans athletes? It's like all this like crazy shit that we're now being demanded upon by pretty much the people in the West, that no, we have to support this or else you're a bad person. You're not an ally to this community. And to be quite honest with you, I'm not surprised that certain countries, look, you can argue it's probably too late here for the United States, but I'm not surprised that other countries are looking at what's happening in the United States and in the UK and in Germany and saying, yeah, we're not going to do that here. And we don't care what you guys label us. Like, we're not going to let you guys just completely subvert our society the way that things have happened here in the US. So like I said, like I say, we're talking about a country here that hates two sides of the evil coin. You can't sit there and say like, oh no, they're fascists because they don't support the gay community. It's like, no, this country has dealt with fascism very, very personally. They have a very nasty history with Nazis, and they don't like Nazis. They also have a very nasty history with communism as well. That's why they don't like commies, which is why even to this day, a lot of people in Poland are very anti-Russia, because they have a very, very bad history with that country as well. So, I mean, what else do you guys think about this one? I'll go with Sarah here. What's your thoughts on the whole Poland situation here?
Seems like same old, but I agree. I don't really know why it matters to them, except that they're probably just like, well, if we act like it's a one world government, then eventually maybe it will be. Something.
Well, I do want to point this out that because this is something that's been going on in Japan for a long time now, and if you're part of the anime, the manga, and even to an extent the video game community, this been happening for a while. But the box office numbers from Japan are interesting, because the only movies that were in the top 10 that weren't Japanese, the main one being Top Gun from this past year, and this is different compared to like previous years, because there used to be like movies like Titanic up in there. It's still, Titanic is still up in the Japanese box office for best grossing, movies of all times up in there. But now it's like it's been taken over by Japanese movies now, a lot of them anime. So it goes to show you how Japan's viewing what's happening here in the US, if not that many movies from Hollywood are even in the top 10.
That's one thing I have noticed about Japan too. It's like culturally, at least with like their people, they're far more, I guess you could say, right wing. Because I don't want to say like conservative, because it's like obviously the parties aren't exactly the way they're here in the United States. But it seems like politically, their people are more right wing, even though some of their leaders may be, World Economic Forum puppets, and that's a conversation for another day. But I do notice that with a lot of those countries, there, like I said, you could probably see the same thing in countries like South Korea, even though with all the K-pop shit, you probably wouldn't think so. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of people that are pushing back against a lot of things that have just kind of consumed our culture here in the United States. And it's like, yeah, look at what's going on here. It's like, why would we want that for our society? Why would we not try to keep a lot of that stuff out before it consumes us the way it's consumed everybody else?
Well, you have like the trans community trying to colonize, like now anyway, the gender bender anime, and you see them trying to colonize like femboys, and I think it's happening in K-pop as well. Correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, it's been happening a lot, especially over the last year from what I've seen, and recently now in terms of gender bender.
So my question is, has Poland passed any legislation that's deliberately anti-LGBT?
Like I said, the one that they're protesting about the most here is the one about the child adoption, which I think got rejected, which means that they didn't recognize like same-sex couples' ability to like adopt children and stuff like that.
Okay,
so that's specific. That's mainly the one that they're upset about.
So I mean, like at the end of the day, this isn't a country that literally puts into law, if you're gay, you will be persecuted or shit like that.
No.
Like
yeah, like I said, it's not like it's not Saudi Arabia when it comes to stuff like that.
Like this is just petty shit, I'm not an LGBT ally in any way, shape, or form. Does that mean I'm against it? No. I have friends that are gay. If you're gay, I totally support you living your life, the way that you want to. I'm not against it. These people think if you're not doing everything in your power to be pro-LGBT, then to them you are the enemy. And that is the problem with these authoritarian fucking pigs, honestly. I'm just tired of these people acting as though their rule is law. It's completely fine to not be pro-LGBT and just let people's relationships fly the way that they want to. I don't want to be involved in people's relationships. I want them to have complete control over their own lives without them trying to have control over my own life. Why is that bad? Why can't I say, I want these people to just live their life and do whatever, and I don't want to be involved in it in any way, shape, or form? Apparently that's evil in modern day. So it's like, I guess I'm just fucking evil. I accept it.
What people like is being left alone.
Exactly.
Like, just leave people alone, and they'll probably support whatever you want to do. So just leave them alone. Stop pushing so hard, please.
Stop grilling people, man. It's so obnoxious. Like, these people are genuinely obnoxious, and they are so ignorant. They don't realize that being this obnoxious makes people fucking hate you. Like, I don't hate you because of who you sleep with and all that shit. I hate you because you're a fucking asshole. Like, that's it.
Yeah. Yep.
I honestly think this is kind of like shooting themselves in the foot too, because it's like, if you wanted to like promote your cause or something, you would have their attention while you're in the audience. You're not like endearing yourself to anybody but like, I don't know. I guess like you're not endearing yourself to anybody but the far west.
Yeah. They're not gonna win over Poland, but they're gonna win over a lot of idiots in the U.S.
Exactly.
I mean, and that's kind of why, is this virtue signaling, or do they? I mean, it's entirely possible too that just there wasn't a lot of interest.
Yeah, because I mean,
to back out and.
One thing that I say is that I do know a few people who are from Poland. The boys say like in the MMA community, but I know them and they talk about Poland. And here's the problem with Poland. This is why you're seeing a lot of pushback with this agenda is that Poland is a very, very pro-family nation, right? That they truly believe in the family unit, the traditional family unit, and all of that good stuff. And obviously, the LGBTQ community, whether they want to admit it or not, it has become a direct opposition of traditional families, right? Because when you're talking about, same-sex unions, those are non-traditional relationships, but that's something that Poland still values. To a large part of their people value it as well. So when they're trying to, I guess, push the same thing that they've been doing here in the United States in a country like that still very much protects that family union, you're going to get some pushback. Now, like I said, it's not China where you're just going to disappear in a camp somewhere because you're a certain way or you oppose a certain law. But you have to understand that there are a lot of countries out there, a lot of people out there that still want to value their way of life and their traditions. And if you're coming out there, especially as an outsider, like a lot of these celebrities are, if you're coming as an outsider and you're trying to tear down the traditions that a lot of these other countries have held for many, many years, obviously you're going to get some people who are going to be pretty pissed off about that. So it's like, maybe, like Rob said, maybe stop pushing so hard against some of these people and they won't be so heavily against you.
I mean, my first political issue when I was 15, 16 and, middle of the Bush administration was being for gay marriage. It was wrong that there were people under the law that got it. Really, it was about like benefits and other people literally couldn't. And I thought that was wrong. Now I'm more like, I don't think the government should be involved in marriage at all. I think it's fucking weird that you get tax breaks for having kids. I think that's weird now. So just, you can throw stones at me now, but no, but it's like, I've never understood that, like government incentivizing getting married and having kids. I think that's kind of strange. So
I actually know the science behind that. So we can have a chat about it later.
Okay.
Yeah, but I wanted to see if I can show you guys a picture here, but I have to see if I got a good little... Yeah, this one is a little better. So I know some of you guys may not be soccer fans out there, but there's a team out there called, I think it's Liga Warsaw, which is like one of the big soccer clubs out there in Poland. And they're kind of notorious for bringing kind of anti-authoritarian signs and promotions as part of their game. So here, this is one that obviously got them fined, got them in a lot of trouble, but it's kind of an anti-Nazi poster saying that during the Warsaw uprising, Germans killed 160,000 people. Thousands of them were children. So they were doing like basically an anti-Nazi poster like on here, a display here in this country. So like I said, you're dealing with a country here that is very much against a lot of the ideals that are kind of dominating our country. Like a lot of people think that the only two sides are communism and fascism, and there's nothing else. And you're dealing with a country here that hates both sides of the aisle. There was another one on here. I want to see if I could find it, because I think it was the UK team had shown up to play a game there, and of course all the UK squads for some weird reason are now protesting the national anthem for George Floyd, a guy who didn't even die like in the country or whatnot. So they got fined once again because when they showed up to like kneel during the anthem in Poland, they brought in like this giant poster that said that kneel before your master or something like that. I'll find it here in a second, but I do have a couple of guys who are joining us here in the show here. So let's go ahead and introduce our regular here, Mr. Rick Aragon. How you doing tonight?
I'm doing very well. Thank you. It's good to be back.
Yeah. And then joining us for the first time here on the Barroom Podcast, making his debut, Mr. John Delarose. How you doing tonight?
I heard kneel before your master, and I had to show up as the master. So
yeah.
Hello,
it was
Chad.
almost like your bat signal, right?
Are we talking the Doctor Who master? That's the only master I recognize.
Yeah, here we go. This is the post. Yeah, so I think it was the England one of the English teams, may have been like Tottenham or something like that, had shown up, and they obviously wanted to protest the national anthem. So this is how the Poland fans welcomed the English fans who wanted to protest and kneel on their field, and they said kneel before your majesty. So yeah. And of course this got them in trouble in FIFA, but they do shit like this all the time. So it's like, yeah, this is the country that you're dealing with here. So it's like, you're not going to be able to do the same tactics in the United States as you would do over here, because they're pretty fucking based in the wild over there.
Yeah, base Poland.
All right, so I'm glad you guys have joined us here. I wanted to go ahead and talk about this story, because this is a story that I think a lot of people have given me heat over the last couple of weeks regarding this story. It's Glass Onion. Now, I'm pretty sure everyone here knows Rian Johnson and knows Rian Johnson's whole backstory, right? About how he pretty much killed Star Wars, or at least the Disney Star Wars, with The Last Jedi. And then he came out with Knives Out, which was pretty much a roast of Donald Trump, even though they didn't admit it directly. So then he comes out with another film called The Glass Onion, which got released on Netflix. And it's essentially all about Elon Musk. It's just a giant FU to Elon Musk. It's pretty obvious to anyone who watched the movie. I even said on Twitter, 3 minutes into watching the film, this is a movie about Elon Musk. Well, now he's trying to back up those claims, saying, hold on a second, this isn't a movie about him. This is not what I did the movie for. And now he's claiming that Miles Braun, which is the character that Edward Norton plays, is not based on Musk. He says that it's a horrible accident that the character resembles any resemblance to that character. I don't believe him at all, because he's a lying sack of shit. But let's see what he has to say here. Rian Johnson has addressed the similarities between Miles Braun, his character in Glass Onion, and Elon Musk, saying that any resemblance between the tech billionaire and his real-life counterpart is purely unintentional. Jackson acknowledged in an interview that the film does have a very bizarre real-life resemblance to Braun, before going on the joke that he hopes that there's some secret marketing department at Netflix that funded Musk's Twitter takeover. That's hilarious to them, I guess. There's a lot of general stuff that the sort of species of tech billionaire that went into directly Glass Onion, but obviously it had a weird relevance in this exact current moment. He said a friend of mine said, man, it feels like you wrote this afternoon. It's just a horrible accident, So I think even people close to him said that look, you're not even doing a good job of pretending like this Elon Musk. So he had to come out, do a little PR thing and say no, that's not what I wanted to do here. But if you haven't seen the movie Glass Onion, it's about an idiot a tech billionaire who murders someone and tries to cover it up. But he's so stupid that he makes it very obvious that it's him, and it could be nobody else but him. That's just part of Rian Johnson's expectation subverting style that he gets all this credit for in the media. Talk about, oh, he's so brilliant. And it's no, you figured out this movie 2 minutes into this shit, and I can go on a rant all about this dude, but that's pretty much all he had to say. He's trying to back down on claims that he made this movie about Elon Musk, just like he made the first movie about Donald Trump. JD, I'm not sure if you saw this movie, but what is kind of your thoughts on Rian Johnson in general here?
Oh, he's one of the worst shitlibs out there. So of course he did this, and this is exactly like his trend with everything. So it's garbage. But no, I didn't watch it. It's I see Rian Johnson movie, I'm just not going to watch it.
Yeah,
right.
And keep in mind, this is a movie that they spent I think they spent $40 million on just the production alone, but Netflix paid almost $275 million just for the rights of that movie. So they're all in. It was probably somewhere about $300 million just for that film. That's just the rights and the production. God knows how much marketing was, or maybe they don't have to spend that much because it's on a streaming platform. But yeah, that was not a very cheap film that they put together there.
That's
Rob,
crazy.
Yeah, Rob, you watched the movie, so what is your thoughts on hearing that, especially after actually seeing the movie yourself?
Yeah, I hated Knives Out. I mean, I really hated that movie. That sort of just smarmy, sort of self-satisfied. Isn't this rich family awful? And I think Glass Onion is worse. I think it's probably a worse movie. But just from the very start, it was just such a nothing movie. It was sort of this critique of the disruptors, anybody that operates outside of the, a system of experts, where there's just these idiots, yet they were incredibly successful in their fields. The movie itself doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Rian Johnson has taken a complete 180 from when I was a teenager. I loved his first movie, Brick, and even his follow-up
was really good.
Brothers Bloom wasn't bad. And I was okay, whatever. I was going to watch anything he made because it was a promising start to a career. And he just absolutely sold out. I guess it's worth it. I guess he gets enough money. for doing so, but it's such a disappointment on a creative and artistic level that it's just like, dude, you could have been like a really talented, solid director in this industry, and you just decided to make shitty Star Wars movies and propaganda for the Democratic Party. So
so like every other Hollywood celebrity.
Right. I still have kind of rose-colored glasses on about Hollywood, where it's like, hey, there's still artists out there who can make it different. It's pretty much over. It's
for the CIA, maybe, but not for the world.
Very much.
Sarah, did you ever see this movie?
I didn't. I don't have Netflix anymore, so wasn't even tempted.
Yeah, it was out from theaters for 1 week.
It was out for 1 week in theaters.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Well, Rick, I know you
like twice this year.
Rick, I know you saw this movie, so what was your thoughts on Rian Johnson claiming that it's not about Musk?
That seems a stretch, although that is why they always say any resemblance to figures living or dead is purely coincidental. It's the idea that this tech billionaire who's an idiot, that it's not inspired by Elon Musk is again a stretch. It's like having a character who's a billionaire or a tech billionaire who wears a hoodie all the time, and that's not Mark Zuckerberg. We're supposed to pretend that it's not him. I don't know why he's walking back or suggesting that it's not him. I think most people, when they would see the movie, would say it's an Elon Musk type. Maybe you can find reviews, minus yours, Jacob, where people say it's an Elon Musk type character that Edward Norton is playing. And if you can, then whatever Rian Johnson says is nonsense. And I don't know why he's trying to backtrack and say he should just come out and say, yes, it's a spoof. It's a spoof of Elon Musk. There's nothing wrong with spoofing anyone. So why is he so upset? My big issue with Glass Onion are all of these poor unfortunate souls who keep saying that this is Agatha Christie-like and that Benoit Blanc is the new Hercule Poirot. And I'm going, have you people even read any of those books?
No.
I mean, there's no comparison.
I mean, for those of you guys who haven't watched the movie, keep it in mind, Block, whatever his name is, Foghorn Leghorn, doesn't even actually solve the mystery. Like, he only solves the mystery by convenience, because the whole point of the movie is that the Elon Musk character is just a big old dummy, and that everything he does is stupid and it's so easy to figure out. So it's like, what is this great detective work that he's doing in this fucking movie by coming to the conclusion that, the guy who we don't like because he's a rich tech billionaire is a fucking moron? It's like...
Yeah, the only thing that Benoit Blanc and Hercule Poirot have in common is they have accents. Although Hercule Poirot has a Belgian accent, and Benoit Blanc has this Foghorn Leghorn on crack accent, who's supposed to be from the bayou out there, and gives, like I said, Daniel Craig a chance to ham it up. But he's an idiot. If you actually watch the film, he doesn't solve anything. I would say that Benoit Blanc is a bigger idiot than Miles Braun or whatever the character is.
Yeah.
But I don't know why why Johnson is again walking back his statements. There's no reason.
Because he's trying not to sound like a hack.
I have a theory.
I think it's
that,
because
actually.
Elon. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, I think because Elon Musk bought Twitter, he doesn't have all those bots that are going around just supporting him. Like The Last Jedi thing came out like 5 years ago, and it got like only 400 likes as opposed to his usual like million or something. And I even said, all the bots are gone, so he can't pretend to be popular anymore.
Yeah, something like that. I thought maybe he wrote the movie before Elon Musk bought Twitter, and now he's kind of afraid of getting suspended or something, you know?
Well, I know like that Don't Worry Darling had Jordan Peterson as the inspiration for Chris Pine's character.
Yeah.
Is that kind of coming off of a similar... so like we had one baddie here, let's get another baddie in.
Well, here's my question, and I think this is a good question because we all know Rian Johnson's a jackass. When he wrote this movie, did he actually believe that he was being clever enough that people wouldn't think that this was Elon Musk when they saw the film? Like I said, it only takes minutes in to realize what he was doing. I mean, what other tech billionaire runs his own space program? And it's like you find out like right away. It's like, okay, I already know exactly where this is going, and because it's about Elon Musk, he's the bad guy, so exactly exactly who the villain is throughout the course of the film. So everything that happens throughout the next 2 hours isn't even a surprise because you pretty much showed your hand in the first 3 minutes.
Yeah, but again, I don't see a reason why he should not own up to it and say, yes, it's Elon Musk.
I have a reason.
Okay, what's the reason?
The only logical explanation for why he's denying it is because he's actually trying to pretend that he isn't an unoriginal piece of shit. You know, like clearly most of these people in Hollywood, they don't have an original thought. They're not inspired by anything other than their deranged political ideologies. So if they look at these people that are political adversaries and they make their characters based off of them, because they really can't think for themselves. They see the world in this maniac bubble on Twitter. And right now, Elon Musk is, enemy numero uno to a lot of them because he's exposing a lot of the stuff. And really, at the end of the day, Rian Johnson's a pretentious prick. So it doesn't surprise me that he is denying it because he wants to pretend that he's original and thoughtful and that he wrote something that's truly revolutionary. Oh my God, no one could have thought of this. That's the type of clown that we're really talking about.
Well, yes, granted, Rian Johnson is his generation's Agatha Christie.
I can say after 2 weeks, I did not miss this whatsoever. So I just
look, in Knives Out, you have a minor character who immediately made me think of Ben Shapiro. The way he looks, the way he's always on the phone, and I'm thinking,
and they're calling him a Nazi.
Yeah, which is, and his only line was "You anchor baby," and I'm going, that is just a strange line to tell Ana de Armas' character. The point is, I think most people have assumed who kind of know who Ben Shapiro is. That's a Ben Shapiro clone. I said there was a Ben Shapiro clone in my review, and with Glass Onion, I think most people again would have said that's an Elon Musk clone, or it's an Elon Musk type character. So Johnson saying that, oh no, it was coincidence, it's just an accident. It's such an absurdity. It's more idiotic than anything that Benoit Blanc would say or think. I mean, just stop pretending. I mean, there's nothing wrong with spoofing any person, but I don't know. I mean, they're not like Cassie's saying. They're not clever. They think they are. They're not fooling anyone. So they're just embarrassing themselves even more. That's my 2 cents on it.
And then keep in mind, we're talking about Rian Johnson here. The only reason why he's even relevant right now is because he did The Last Jedi, which was a feminist Kathleen Kennedy film, which pretty much destroyed all the lore in the Star Wars just like that, and pretty much destroyed the Disney trilogy to the point where they haven't even announced another film in like the last 4 years. All they've done is like Disney Plus projects, which is not what they spend $4 billion to obtain the rights for it, so they can put all this shit on Disney Plus. But because that film had the right narrative and attack the right people, this has pretty much been Rian Johnson's MO now. Like I said, you go back to the first Knives Out movie. It was supposed to be all about the Trumps. So it's all about a rich elite society somewhere in the Northeast. It's supposed to be a parody of Donald Trump. This one is a parody of Elon Musk. So this is why he's getting all this critic praise, because he's going after all the left's enemies, and they're in return pretending like all of these movies are actually good when they're absolutely complete fucking drivel. That, like I said, I know Ben Shapiro did a whole like little tweet thread about all the problems in the movie. He's right. It's fucking dumb. And I mean, I just don't understand why we have to sit here and pretend like that, like you said, that this is the next great mystery adventure. Like, there's no mystery to this film. Like, you introduced the character like in the last 30 minutes of the film that had no bearing on anything, and then you don't even give anyone a real conclusion because you're not nearly as smart as you think you are. You just refuse to accept it. So any final thoughts on Rian Johnson here before we move on to our next one?
Yeah, don't you think that he just has utter contempt for the audience?
Yeah,
because like if it's like because it's like if I know I sound like an old man, like, but I'm reading this book about the studio system, and it was like the audience will get it. You do not have to beat them over the head with it. Do not use an obvious example from reality. Use a composite. Be smarter about how you construct characters. It's not that difficult because you have 100 years to base your ideas on. Like, and I'm sorry, but it's just like movies are so bad right now, and these people have no excuses to be this stupid with their execution.
Yeah.
And
Well,
we're
I
gonna
think
go
a
ahead
lot
and
of times
sad.
they need
Love
they
it.
need something explained. The filmmakers think they need everything explained to the audience. They don't trust the audience. It's a terrible
Yeah.
shame.
It's a shame that in modern day it seems as though like Hollywood is conducting itself, creating its works as though it's like a dumbed down Sesame Street for the audience. Like that alone makes me not interested even remotely. And like to get me to go to a movie theater, I say this that every time I've went to the movie theater this year, I was one severely drunk walking into the theater. That I'm not even exaggerating. I had to go drink, and then my friend and thankfully twice I missed the movie time from drinking. So whenever I'm in the movie theater, I'm severely drunk, and then 20 minutes into the fucking movie, I am sobered. That's how terrible these films are now.
Well, I think I recommended.
To a theater.
I think I recommended this a couple of weeks ago, but if you're gonna go see Avatar, you're gonna go see it in 3D. Maybe it'd be a good time to take some acid and watch it if you really want to get a full experience of the Avatar movie.
That's the way to do it.
And let's go ahead.
Cassie, my question is like, why aren't you bringing like pocket shots or something like that to make sure you keep it going?
Jello shots.
Like, you know?
Well, to be fair, I conceal carry, and I actually almost got kicked out of the movie theater because they wanted to look into my bag when I was carrying. So I got into a fight with the person there, and it was pretty bad because you're not looking in my bag when I'm concealed carrying, motherfucker. Like,
You're definitely not in
me
California,
bringing
then.
drinks and stuff too.
No, definitely not.
Thank everything, all of the gods of every religion that I'm not in California.
By the way,
Beautiful,
constitutional carry just got passed in Georgia and Tennessee, by the way. So, yeah.
Oh,
back
cool.
in heat down here.
Yep.
But let's move over to Avatar here for a second, because I think it was a couple weeks ago we asked the question, was this film going to bomb? Because apparently this film had like a $2 billion break-even rate right now. Now, we found out, according to James Cameron, who clarified that, well, okay, $2 billion isn't exactly the break-even point for this movie. It's a little bit less than that. I think they're saying that it was somewhere about like 1.5 to 1.7 billion dollars.
Oh, that's all.
That it has to make. Yeah, that's all, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now, if you look at the box office here for this movie, it is doing well. It has reached $1 billion very quickly. But here's something to take a look at here. If you look at the numbers here, almost 70% of the money that's coming into this film is coming from overseas, and it's made almost $1 billion overseas by itself. Now, domestically, it's made about 446, but I believe it's still somewhere like in the top 5 or 6 for domestic movies this year. But obviously, the overseas crowd is loving this. Now, it's also important to keep in mind that the film itself still hasn't broke even yet, even at 1.4 billion. So we're still not in the profit margin yet for this film. But if you've seen the movies that we have coming out here in the next month or so, there's nothing really exciting, with the exception of maybe Megan, because I heard a lot of people starting to talk about that over the last couple of weeks. So maybe that will be a surprise hit. But outside of that, it doesn't have much competition right now, and it's making a killing overseas. Now, I know people here in this panel are divided up against it. I'm looking at Sarah when I say that because she loves this movie. Some of us weren't too excited about it. I was kind of pretty much in the middle. I love the visuals. The visuals are great for this one. I can't say that Cameron didn't put in the effort of making this film look pretty, but at the same time, the story-wise, I could care less for the story. So I'll go ahead and start with Sarah here and go with everyone else. What is your thoughts on the box office performance of Avatar here, and do you think that it has a chance to make a significant profit here, since $2 billion is coming here around the corner?
Yeah, there's no chance of an Avatar movie flopping. Every single one, as long as James Cameron makes them, is going to be successful. That's just the end of the discussion. I don't know why people thought that it was going to flop. I always knew that it was going to make money. I don't know what the reason.
Well, to be fair, like I said, up until like a week ago, they were saying that the break even for this was $2 billion, which is like, you realize you have to be like one of the like top 3 or 4 highest earning movies all time just to break even.
If he needed to make $2 billion, he would just release it in theaters again, and more people would go see it again, and he'd make the money back. Just keep releasing it. They're re-releasing until he makes it.
Just keep jacking up 3D ticket prices and IMAX and all that bullshit. So it's just,
if there's one thing James Cameron can do, it's make money off of a movie.
Yeah, well, it's not Gone with the Wind, which is the whole like what is it, judging for inflation?
Yeah,
I think it's still up there.
Yeah, it's
Oh my
crazy.
god, it makes people so mad whenever you bring up that reality. It
Man.
hurts their soul that it will
Yeah.
never eclipse Gone. None of these movies, in my opinion, will never ever eclipse Gone with the Wind, Counting for Inflation.
Yeah, here's the thing, and Rob brought up what I was going to say, that the box office here in the U.S. is due in part because of the 3D, which will always be more expensive, the IMAX, which will be always more expensive, all of the bells and whistles. That is what is lifting it. If it had been released in a regular flat 2D, I mean the box office here in the States would have been lower. So most of this is, as Jacob said, most of this is from outside the U.S. because this is one of the few films I think that China took, and it's probably doing well. Probably in Middle Eastern countries, it's not doesn't have anything overt. I mean, minus the environmental message, it doesn't
not even
really have.
overt.
It doesn't even have a lot of things that could be considered offensive to other cultures, as far as I know. But you have to judge it based on the fact that it's making money, but because of those bells and whistles. And now I can finally say to Sarah, blasphemer, idolater, for this you shall drink bitter waters. Finally.
At least I enjoyed the movie.
But no, that's why it's making more money, because of the 3D. People paid more to see it, and people paid to see more in IMAX. They wanted the full experience. I saw it in regular flat 2D. It's a very pretty looking film, but it's nothing. It's not a turning point in cinema history. I'm sorry.
No, I agree with that, but I did enjoy it. Like, I enjoyed the story. I enjoyed it for more than the visuals. So
should I go
quick
see
little
it?
Sorry,
what,
go ahead.
Avatar 2?
Don't go see it.
So we got to know.
By the way, if you're going to go see Avatar 2, it's a 3 hour and 15-minute movie. So,
oh god, I have no patience for that.
Well, it's preview.
It's like
What's preview? So it'll be like 4.
Bruh.
More like 4.
With me drinking and going to the movie theater, I'd be in the bathroom like 15 times. Like, it's
Oh
not
yeah, you wouldn't even see it. You wouldn't even see
yeah,
it.
literally, dude.
Yeah.
I will say, so like I went to this movie for Christmas with husband because we got my sister took my kids for a while, and I like my take on this movie best. If Jake had just listened to his wife, the entire movie would not have happened. So
Well,
I thought that was an
sometimes.
excellent way of summing it up, and I thought this was especially funny since James Cameron has been married like 5 times or something, so he finally got it. Men, listen to your wife. So
maybe that's true, but also they kind of.
What was that? I wasn't listening. A woman was talking.
by the way, I do want to point out that we have more women on the show than we've ever had in the history of the Barroom podcast. So, episode 30, ladies and gentlemen.
Let's not make that mistake.
Well,
golden ratio.
We're evenly split. I can see
Not
we're
a golden
evenly
ratio.
split. Now, I mean, what story is there? I when I was watching this movie, I could not tell the two brothers. I don't remember their names. I assume that they have names, but I mean, what are their names? I only remember Took because she was the annoying little girl that constantly kept getting captured, and then Kiri, who's like the mystical child. But the two brothers, the one who died, I don't know who he was.
They didn't develop the one who died. That's why it's confusing, because I got them mixed up too, because they only developed the younger one, and then the other one just got killed off. That was his character.
Which was the one that was frolicking with the whale? I mean,
yeah, that was the younger one. The older one was just there.
Wait, so the older one died then?
Yes.
Yeah.
See, I wouldn't know. So there's no real story here. So this is not, again, this is a story. This is a movie that you would watch for the visuals, and it's very pretty, but not for anything substantive.
I watched it for the story. Sorry.
All right. What are their names? What are the characters' names?
I don't care what their names are.
Oh, well, let me see. I can name you Scarlett O'Hara, Red Butler, Ashley Wilkes,
story,
Mammy. No, come on. If you don't know the difference between Scarlett O'Hara and Melanie Wilkes, then yeah, I can tell the difference because they were actually gay performances.
I'm not saying they're great performances. I'm saying there was a story that I enjoyed. I didn't need to know. I didn't need to be able to tell the characters apart, the two brothers at least, in order to enjoy it. Because when the one brother was in the scenes, I knew who he was, and then I could enjoy his storyline.
No, No, I mean,
Yeah,
enjoyed it.
I
You
didn't
can enjoy
enjoy
it.
it.
You
Come
can
on.
enjoy. You can enjoy it, but enjoy it. But
Mansplain it to her,
there's not
Rick.
much-
Do it.
Thank you.
God.
I-
You know how
there's nothing.
gaming
Enjoy
Discord-
it as much as you like, but there's
Yeah.
there's nothing here that says this is a great film. Should be Best Picture. A turning point. Get a Criterion here. It's not
I
going
agree
to.
with that, but I enjoyed
Thank
it. I don't think it was
Oh my
made to be.
I
an
enjoyed. You
Oscar
know what?
movie.
I enjoyed Theater of Blood. That doesn't mean
You know-
that it's a great film.
I know. I
and
agree.
you
It's
know
not a
what?
great film.
And you know what? Avatar could be a fun film to watch. I couldn't say for sure with this new one. It could be decent for what it is, but it's just I cannot deal with my generation, specifically people like really my age, trying to act like it is the staple of filmmaking entirely. Like this is the greatest thing that's come out ever. And it's just like
Yeah.
I cannot stand how ignorant you are.
Yeah.
So
It's
it's not the
pop art.
Citizen Kane of your generation, Cassie.
Yeah,
is what
it's
you're
pop art. But the thing is, there aren't any Citizen Kane movies coming out right now, so we have to enjoy what we can.
saying. Really, I understood that Glass Onion was the Citizen Kane.
But
By the way-
the thing is, I'm tired. Like I've spent like my teenage years trying to, adapt to what is presented or what is, the norm, what is deemed socially acceptable. About to be 30 years old, not trying to adapt to stupidity, to ignorance, to low tier filmmaking. Like I'm over it. Like I've gotten over those years of trying to adapt to things. I just feel like I'm about to hit 30 and I need to value my time more than ever before. Like, that's how I personally feel.
I
And
love
if-
Cassie's giving us a rant about how she has to readjust her life here at the
Yes,
great old ripe
yes.
age of
Oh,
30.
You're a
Yes,
kid.
but like
You're a kid,
honestly,
Cassie.
like you know what? I act like a kid, and to me, it's like if I feel like something's a genuine waste of my time, I cannot. I just can't suck it up and just watch it and try to find something like about it. Like I'd rather watch Halloween for like the 100th time, 1978 Halloween. Like I'd rather watch something I genuinely know I'm going to enjoy that makes me feel cozy. I don't want to go to a movie theater where I have to sit there for 3.5 hours and just deal with something I'm probably gonna hate.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree with that.
I
I totally feel that, but like for me, that's what Avatar is. Avatar is cozy.
I understand.
Yeah.
Well, and
I
I'll
mean-
back Sarah up on this. It's a decent family movie. Like my in-laws went to go see it, and we can talk about it. And I know that sounds weird, but it's like that's a safe topic for us to talk about instead of are you gonna have any more children or
Wait, like
You know,
like
when you
definitely
get a
if
You
you
should
real
try
have
job.
tennis, Chrissy. You should try
if
tennis.
you have children, like I totally
tennis was
understand.
my
if-
old church's code word for sex.
Oh, what?
well, like if you have children, like you have to sacrifice for your children. Like you're like if I had a kid, I would imagine myself sitting through a lot of stuff that if I didn't have a kid, I'd rather die than sit through. You know, like that's
The reason that
that's
this
the
movie does make a lot of
sacrifice
money
you
is
make.
it's your family sales. Like there were a lot of kids that went. So even
Yeah,
at the late
exactly.
showing that I was at, like a lot of the audience was kids, and this is something that
Yeah.
They have the nice special effects. All the boys like. I mean, I know James Cameron has come out saying that guns are bad and testosterone is evil and stuff, but like my son like it. It
And
still
there's
has a
some guns
little
in the
too
movie.
much language for me to be comfortable with it, and I think he has to see the first one, and I'm too uncomfortable with him watching that one. But it's like he'll like it when he gets older, and my daughter will like it for the kitty stuff. Like she likes cats. We got a new cat. So
I,
It's like,
I,
oh,
couple,
people-
couple, hold on
I
a second.
think go ahead.
Couple of
I mean, like
notes here.
he'll get money from that. That's broad
Uh,
appeal.
One, Gone with the Wind, adjusted for inflation, is $3.5 billion. So yeah, this game's gonna be pretty hard for any film to ever top that, especially in modern times. And John's been here for about at least 30 minutes now, and only just now noticed his username there, Son of Medicare. I just wanted to throw that out
That's
there,
right,
too.
Chad.
So
Glad I could help.
I'm 34.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What Cassie was just articulating is something I felt like I was on film Twitter and I was seeing the most fucking banal, mediocre pieces of shit being like, this is one of the best movies of the decade, or this
Oh my
should
God.
be. And it's like, you people don't know what the fuck you're talking about. And so I said to myself, look, I haven't seen enough movies from the 30s, the 40s, the 50s. I love the 70s. The 70s was like my gateway to the rest of cinema. And now I've like the last 4 years, I've basically just inundated myself, literally 2,600 movies the last 4 years I've watched, just trying to educate myself. And I'm so much further along than I was. And it's like, I feel great about that. Like, I'm never looking back. You kidding me? These fucking movies that come out now, it's just like, if I can find something enjoyable, it's a win. It's 10% of the movies I watched
seen
last
anything
year.
in years that I would want to watch more than once.
Same.
Yeah, there's the staying power
Not
with films in modern day is very slim to none. Even some films that I really, really enjoyed, like over the past decade, I think one that's noteworthy was Nightcrawler. I loved watching Nightcrawler that first time. I thought it was a great film. It had a lasting impact on me. Can I watch that movie again, though? Not really.
Well, I mean, this comes back to my tirade against Star Wars. Like, I love Star Wars. It was one of the first times that I went to a movie theater when they released them in the 90s. But Star Wars was made out of like a cohesive cultural vision. Okay, so like you have like it comes from like all the influence of the 50s and the rise of the psychology and the culture was very homogenous back then because we didn't have like all the same people and all the different media companies and everything. So it was a vision made in a culture in a time where everybody was kind of on the same page as everybody else. Like I took off Twitter today and like 3 people died or something. It's like, oh my gosh, you just get so inundated with stuff that it's hard to keep up. But like,
there's no evidence that it was vaccine related.
Yes. Especially here on YouTube.
And
yes.
Yeah, with the prequels when they came out in the 90s to the early aughts and stuff, like that was kind of like the inheritor of the age of technology. You can see this because the visuals are so dense. There's a lot of things that Lucas played with. And
I want to hit you guys with this just real quick here because this is something that's been circulating the last couple of days. See if I can bring it up so you be a little bit better here. But this is pretty much an entire calendar list of the biggest movies that are coming out this year. And I want to ask you guys, are you excited by anything that I'm about to mention here? So you have Megan, which is that AI doll movie, which is basically the Girl Chucky movie that's coming out next week. You have Ant-Man 3. You have Cocaine Bear. You have Creed
100%.
3. Yeah, Cocaine Bear Baby too. Creed 3.
So epic. It's gonna be an acid trip, that movie.
I can't wait.
Is that Scream? Okay, wait a second. So they're just gonna release another movie called Scream. Like, is this the third movie called Scream?
6 because the M looks like a V.
Oh, that's so stupid.
Oh yeah, that's stupid. That's even more cringe now that I just saw that. Shazam 2, John Wick 4. Dungeons and Dragons, Evil Dead Rise, which is the female Evil Dead movie.
Oh no!
Super Mario Brothers, Guardians of the Galaxy 3, Fast and Furious 10, The Little Mermaid, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse Part 2, Transformers: Rise of the Beast, which is Transformers 6, Ezra Miller Flash, Elemental, Indiana Jones, which is the race swap, gender swap Indiana Jones movie. Was it Mission Impossible 6 or 7? I think it's 7 now. Barbie. What is this? The Oppenheimer, which is the Nolan movie.
Yep.
Captain Marvel 2, Ninja Turtles, Blue Beetle, Craven, Dune Part 2, Willy Wonka.
Making a Craven movie?
Yes.
Yeah, it's Craven the hippie.
Oh my gosh.
Rian Johnson. Yeah.
The next Ghostbusters film, Aquaman 2, and I think that's it.
That's it.
So, out of all those movies, there's probably, I would say, at the most 3 that I'm actually interested in seeing. What about you guys?
There's
I'm
one.
just seeing Mario in Japanese, though. I'm not seeing it in English.
Look, I want to see Oppenheimer because that I forget what movie Oppenheimer teaser played before, but it was more memorable than the movie. I think it was Nope.
It might have been Don't Worry About It, or
I think it was Nope. I think it was Jordan Peele's movie. I was like, oh yeah, the Oppenheimer teaser was better than his movie. And then I want to see Martin Scorsese's like Western movie that's kind of
Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I want to see that one too.
Yeah.
it's not on the list.
There are only about two for me. Which would be
Right.
Oppenheimer and Dune, and maybe I'm curious about Blue Beetle, and maybe Shazam is kind of a lark. And as
What
for
is the
Fast,
point of releasing
w-
Shazam? They've
yeah,
already confirmed the DCEU is getting
Well,
the axe. What is the point?
I did not dislike the first Shazam, so I guess I'm more tolerant, and I'm also curious if Fast 10 has that drag race between Helen Mirren and Rita Moreno, which is the only thing I really want to see in a movie.
Rita Moreno's in Fast and Furious.
Yes,
movie? Are you
yes,
fucking
I've already
kidding me?
told you this, Cassie. Yes, she's gonna
Brie
play
Larson's
Dom's
also going to
grandma.
be the
Oh.
next Fast and Furious as well.
I
What?
want to
She's
see
gonna
the
be
No.
drag race.
in
I
there.
want to see
Really?
the drag race.
Yeah, they already
between
confirmed it.
Rita Moreno
How is it going to
and
be
Helen
a
Mirren.
Fast and Furious movie if all you have on it are a bunch of fucking fossils?
Hey, Helen Mirren and Rita Moreno are brilliant.
All right,
These
I mean,
I'm
that's
things
what they
for
got to
Reagan
do.
too.
They got to go.
I'm
They
for
got to go
Reagan
back
too.
in
That
time.
doesn't deny reality. Okay, I love Rita Moreno for
So do
Oscar, gold, all that
EGOT,
Puerto Rican
totally
woman.
EGOT.
So fuck yeah, but she is a fossil.
She's only 91.
She
And
was
she's gonna be.
Listen,
Going to be
Listen.
in that
A
football
fried chicken
movie.
yet.
You know
I,
what's
I
funny?
She's
hope
gonna be
to
in that
live
football
to be
movie
91. I
with,
hope to live to be
Tom Brady.
half of 91, bro.
Listen, I'm a big fan of Rita Moreno because of the TV show Oz, where she plays like a nun who works in the prison. I had no idea she was Hispanic. I had no idea she was in West Side Story until a few years ago. And so, I love Rita Moreno, but please just retire, lady. Please stop.
Keep going there, Rita. More power to you. But
No.
I mean, really, out of all of those, I saw that list and I thought this is very depressing that we're getting all of these movies. I mean, there's only a few that would really interest me, but there's really no there's no I mean I guess people like watching Barbie in the movies, and I guess people want to keep their
No.
MCU fix and their family
Greta
fix. I
Gerwig
mean,
is not a good director, by the way. Just want to throw that out there.
You know,
I thought
when
she
I
was
was
like
a
a
kid,
two-time Oscar nominee.
when I was a
And?
kid, anytime I would get a Barbie doll for Christmas, I would rip its head off. I want to see the Barbie movie like I want a fucking hole in my head.
Yeah.
But it referenced in the trailer 2001. How could you dislike it?
That wasn't
Well,
That's exactly why I dislike it.
And throwing in real quick, something that C.S. Johnson talked about. Look, unfortunately, with a lot of current filmmakers and current reviewers, they do really think that cinema started with Star Wars. They have a hard time believing that anything before Star Wars was even good. Star Wars was kind of an homage, or at least a throwback to the serials that Lucas would watch, like the Flash Gordon and all those Space Ranger type films. Just like Indiana Jones is a throwback, at least initially, to those serials, and that's what they were drawing on. They had a common history in film. Nowadays, most people who make films have absolutely no idea what came before. They refuse to watch. I've had people who really have no idea what a Citizen Kane is, or they don't want to watch a silent movie or a foreign language film. When you
Silent
pair
movies
it,
suck.
Yes.
Well,
I'm
these
sorry.
people,
No, they
these
don't.
people
They don't.
believe
Silent
No, they
movies
don't.
things like
No, they don't.
citizen-
he gets a blasphemer and idolater just for that.
Look, in reality, these people that make film nowadays, a lot of them genuinely, wholeheartedly believe that none of this shit back in the day is good because it's all rooted in some form of bigotry. So yes, they cannot draw inspiration from things that were actually good because it's all evil in some way, shape, or form. So that's what we're dealing with,
That's
why
unfortunate.
they do nothing but make my life miserable when I have to watch one of their piece of shit movies.
You mean like Corey Begins?
Oh God. Oh hey,
Yeah,
David
Corey
Gordon Green.
Begins.
By the way, David Gordon Green's gonna ruin another horror franchise next year with his fucking Exorcist reboot garbage.
Oh God!
Like,
no.
oh my God!
You gotta
go
fail
away,
upward.
please. Please.
And then you wonder why the box office is at the lowest point it is since 9/11. So Yeah, so a lot of stuff to look forward to. By the way, it's a packed house here tonight. I think everyone who's ever been in the podcast and on the chat are here tonight. So if you haven't already, make sure you guys like the video so it gets out there, and subscribe if you haven't already. So we're going to move on to our next topic here. Good old Disney seems to be having some cash flow issues right now. I'm not sure if you guys checked their stock recently, but they're down a lot. I think at this point last year, they were up at about $155 stock-wise, and I think right now they're at about $88. So they've been losing a lot of cash recently. And I think there was even, I can't remember exactly who said this, but one of like the Disney insiders kind of inferred that maybe they had lost a lot of bit of money on the whole FTX collapse as well. So Disney's kind of hurting right now, which is why they brought back Bob Iger to, out of nowhere in the middle of the night on a Sunday, replace Bob Chapek as the CEO of the company. And now there's been rumors about Disney possibly selling ESPN and ABC as a way to earn some money here. So this has been reported on a number of places here. This is the LA Business Journal. It says that the Walt Disney Company may be ready to spin off ESPN and ABC. Now, as someone who's been a very long time fan of ESPN, if somebody else bought ESPN and, I don't know, made it better, made it back to the way that it used to be when you only talk about sports and not all the other bullshit, I would be down for that, but I have to see who the buyer is. But this is the opinion of Wells Fargo analyst Stephen Callahan, who says that the Burbank Entertainment Giant may be pushing to sell some assets in order to raise money here. It says Disney will begin the sell-off process for ESPN and for ABC, including launching ESPN streaming a la carte. It said the cost rationalization and the balance sheet options are crucial to reaching this outcome, and the result is better off remaining for Disney. He said the future of the sports network Disney has been a talking point among investors over the last few years, urging a spin-off of the company. Like I said, I think there was talk that when the whole FTX thing collapsed, that maybe Disney had a large investment that kind of went up with it, with the whole $16 billion. And if that's the case, they may be hurting for money even harder than their stock prices that's dropped now. So there's actually talk out there that, hey, maybe a couple of these major conglomerates that they own, and they own so much shit these days, but maybe they should be up to for sale, or maybe they'll spin it off to something else to kind of recoup their money. But they're in a bad way right now. Third point here says that like I said, that Bob Chapek in an interview with ESPN said that we have a better understanding of ESPN's potential as a standalone business and another venture for Disney to reach its global audience to create ad revenue and subscriber revenues. Now, keep in mind, you're talking about Disney here that already owns multiple streaming services. They own Disney Plus, Hulu. They now have the majority of Hulu as well, and then they also have ESPN Plus as well. So this will obviously impact a lot of businesses. You're talking about Monday Night Football. You're talking about soccer. You're talking about the UFC. There's a lot of major sports networks that are really paying attention to what's going on with ESPN here, because I don't think that we've quite reached the bottom of ESPN's money woes. We're only getting started here, especially with 2023 coming around the corner. But everyone seems to think that Bob Iger is returning to Disney to make massive changes for the company. So this could be one of them here moving forward as well. Amid streaming losses, the sinking stock price. Now, look, as you guys know, we're not very big fans of Disney here. There are people who have blocked us in the past for some of the things that we've said about Disney over the years. I'm not going to name any names. You probably know who we're talking about here. What is kind of your thoughts about Disney having some money woes after the year, or not even just the year that they've had that's been bad enough, but pretty much all of the things that they've done over the last 10, 15 years as a company, as a corporation? Now it seems that their chickens are starting to come home to roost here. I'll start with John. What do you think about Disney having so many problems?
Oh, it feels good, man. I really cannot get more excited for evil satanic company to fail. It's just fantastic. I hope they go straight to hell. Thank you.
John out.
Does the devil have enough money to buy it?
Of course, yeah. I mean, that's kind of what happened, right?
Yeah.
So,
now the reason why
devil worshipping Moloch elites.
Yeah.
Mm.
No, the reason why I kind of like I got to see who the buyer is here, because it has to be if they're gonna start selling off some assets here to raise some money. I mean, who's gonna be the corporation that can afford it at this point? I mean, we talked about the possibility of Warner Brothers Discovery being sold to Comcast and NBC, which would be absolutely terrible, because that would mean that pretty much 70% of everything that you watch on television and in movies and in streaming would all be owned by Comcast. Which, you talk about antitrust issues, you're talking about one corporation pretty much owning 75% of everything in Hollywood, which is not a good thing at all. I mean, we're already suffering through this kind of like this condensed media empire that we're living in right now. We don't want that to get any worse. But Rob, what do you think about the whole Disney money woes here?
Well, I've always kind of been suspicious of Disney. Like I've kind of said this before, but anybody that sort of like traffics in the dreams of children are a little bit like, that's always been a little weird to me. But no, over the last 6-7 years, they've absolutely gone a different direction. They seem to not care about families, or they're going away from their sort of bread and butter.
Subverting families.
Yeah, and I don't really understand. It doesn't seem to make any business sense. I've watched ESPN since I have been interested in sports. I love the old school Sports Center, before they got political, before they started making, commentary and the talking heads basically talking about social issues that have nothing to do with the play on the field. It's just gone downhill. Fox Sports 1 isn't much better because they kind of just mirror what ESPN does. They're just a little less insufferable. But they hire the same people. So I hope that a buyer swoops up and gets ESPN and turns it around. But I
can see like News Corp doing something like buying an ESPN. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like I'm thinking outside the box a little bit.
Don't they own FS1 though?
Do they? I guess they do. Huh?
They do. I would be interested to know who's running FS1 right now, because if it's Fox Corp,
it's Fox Corp. Yeah,
they're just running it as a product, even though they run Fox News as well. So we'll see.
Yeah,
it'd be interesting if you had something like a Pat McAfee situation going on with ESPN, and like have like a bunch of players come together and buy ESPN.
Yeah,
and have like,
and then you have to wonder like what the price tag. Like what the price tag of ESPN would be right now, because you're talking about the network that has like NBA rights, NHL rights, UFC rights, Monday Night Football, all these other major rights. So you're talking about, God, how many figures could you possibly be talking about? Maybe 10 figures of a deal here.
Look at how bored Cassie and Sarah look with ESPN talk here, though. That's the funny part.
I used to actually love watching sports. I used to love.
Well, keep in mind, Cassie's a Jets fan, so that's why she's unhappy.
Yeah, exactly. The pain and suffering. But I mean, when it comes down to it, it is a good thing that Disney might be considering selling like their news organization and ESPN, because in reality, Disney they are a monopoly. That's not, to me, that's not disputable. They have their hands in way too many cookie jars. So the fact that they do have to give some things up, especially, in regards to propaganda outlets, because that's what they seem to be more into now these days than actually, properly entertaining children in ways that aren't fucking creepy. But, that's a good thing that they might be considering selling anything to kind of just lower their power, I guess. But I can't help but feel like some other monopoly that somehow allowed by governments, is just going to pick these things up and do the same thing. At this point, when you have so little like mega corporations, essentially, running the show, I mean, it's not like they're working against each other deliberately. Yes, they're against each other, but they kind of just give and take and work together more than anything to just keep other companies from getting into their space. That's really what it comes down to. When you have like a very small amount of mega corporations they're just like, hey guys, let's work together to make sure no other companies can fuck with us ever. That's really their true goal.
Yeah.
So I
Keep
totally
in mind, like
see
over 30 years ago, you had 31 media corporations that were, or companies, studios, whatever you want to call them, that were creating all your entertainment. Now we're down to about 5, and there's a possibility that number is going to get even smaller in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
You've
So
got,
that while I think this is a good thing, it's also slightly concerning.
yeah. Well, Disney has been taking a bath on a lot of their films. The MCU is not as profitable as it's been in the past.
Yeah.
They're at least 2 of their big animated films have bombed big time, even with the biracial gay teen leading one of them. Yes, I know. It's amazing. So this selling of ESPN and maybe ABC, it's a sign that they need money. They need revenue coming in. They took a hit also with the parks because of the pandemic, and they're still struggling to get people to come in, even with the recent 50th anniversary and their upcoming centennial anniversary.
Yeah.
The question when it comes to ESPN, well, actually, questions is who would buy it, and B, what would they do? Whoever bought it, would they go back to purely sports? Because that's what ESPN, Excellence in Sports Programming Network. It was geared towards people who love sports, and I would watch some ESPN as well on occasion. Like if I did see like maybe a hockey game or a football game or a lot of baseball. I know I have friends who are generally not political who stopped watching it because it was nothing but lectures and social justice. And I even stopped watching some of MLB Network because one of their figures was like, oh, I can't stay silent, I must speak up for social justice and all of this. And
Yeah.
I'm going, your job is to tell me who had more
On base
runs.
percentage.
Yes, I mean, who has a probability to go to the World Series? Your job is not to tell me what I should think about anything. So, are they going, or whoever ultimately buys it, if they decide to sell it, are they going to go back to sports programming? Are they going to cover that wide world of sports, or are they going to just double down? If they're going
Yeah.
to double down, no, fewer people are going to watch, because again, the most people who are really passionate about politics, by and large, right or left, are not going to be watching a lot of sports if they feel that they're going to be lectured to. So that's the question. But I think the bigger thing here is that Disney needs the money. They bought too much, they expanded too far. Now they're spread too thin. Then they also lost again that very sweet deal that they had in Florida
Yep.
to placate to placate a group of people who were not going to be that big on them, and they could have just ignored them, but they chose not to. And you had a legislature and a governor who said, you know what, we're gonna punish you. We're gonna take away this little fiefdom that you had. I hope it was worth your virtue signaling. Those are the questions. Hopefully, whoever, if anyone buys ESPN, maybe they'll start shifting away from all the lectures and the politics. Go back to sports.
It is just real quick. Here's the argument too, because like I said, I mentioned this to Rob a couple of times that I remember watching Around the Horn when it first started back in like 2002, when Max Kellerman was the host, and it was great watching a bunch of sports writers talk about the sports news of the day. It's like I love listening to that kind of conversation, but then they decided they were going to get real political, start bringing up real quote unquote real world issues that have absolutely nothing to do with sports. And the argument then is like, look, you're a sports network. This is what people tune in for. If they want politics, all they have to do is click over to MSNBC or Fox News and get politics from there. That's not what they tune in to ESPN for. They just want to watch the game. Now you can't even watch a game without getting political lectures in the commentary teams that they have covering these events. Or then you have to like watch the games where they're just fooling all the social justice and all the advertisement and stuff like that. So now they've ruined the basic experience of just sitting down for 2 hours and watching a game, and then you wonder why this stuff is flopping. And yeah, Disney's in trouble right now because all of their big movies, with the exception of Avatar, because I guess the jury is still out on that. But look at what happened with Lightyear, with Strange World. all the MCU films underperformed where they wanted it to. I don't think any MCU film this year did over $1 billion. Television wise, you had a lot of TV shows flopping. ESPN Plus, they're moving a lot of money between that and Hulu and Disney Plus, and there's a lot of shortage there. And then of course you have the whole thing with them going to war with Ron DeSantis over the parental bill about teaching kids third grade about transgenderism and all the other rainbow flag shit. And they decided that they were going to side with the LGBTQ lobby over parents. So now parents don't trust Disney as a family-friendly brand anymore, and that's their bread and butter, right? But they're going to double down on that hill because the GLAAD lobby is the one that pretty much controls everything at Disney now. So you think it is bad now? Wait until this summer where all of the quote-unquote Pride Month stuff is aimed specifically towards kids. Like, you think the propaganda in kids programming is bad now? Wait about 4 or 5 months. It's going to get even worse around the summertime.
Yeah, I mean, and even in what were geared as the family films, you couldn't escape some of the politics. I mean, the Beauty and the Beast remake, you had to have the gay LeFou. You have to have the black Little Mermaid, because there's never been a black Disney princess in the history of their studio. Apparently, you had to change Splash Mountain because having Brer Rabbit was somehow an endorsement of white supremacy, and so you had to change that. Yes. Yes, so you couldn't even escape that. So people, when they watch ESPN, and I'm assuming when they watch a Disney movie or something like that, they want escapism. That they want something to enjoy, and they want something that they feel that the whole family, the parents and the kids, could watch without having to worry about all of this. But if you're going to make an animated film where you're going to focus on the biracial gay teen and make that the central point, a lot of parents are going to say, you know what, we don't feel comfortable taking our kids and trying to explain, why this kid is in love with with another person of the same gender, and it's not bigoted.
And you remember Matt, who joined us for a couple of our movie reviews last year when we were talking about Lightyear. He says that he didn't want to go take his kids to go see the movie Lightyear because he didn't want to explain to his young children, hey, why did the girl who's in the marriage with another girl get pregnant and there's no man in the scenario whatsoever? It's like, why is that a conversation that he has to have with his kids because he wants to go see a Lightyear movie? Like, have to explain to him how two women can make a baby with no man.
Right.
This is this is something I overheard at work, where one of the parents said that she didn't take her kids to see Strange World because she wasn't comfortable trying to do that, to explain what it was, and B, she said that she felt that they were, quote, pushing it. They were pushing this this kind of agenda, and she's not by any stretch a right wing or a conservative. But if she felt that they're kind of pushing it and they're kind of going overboard with all the lectures, then yes, they can find other alternatives. They can go to other things, and that's why I've said this before. That's why I think Minions. The latest Minions movie was more successful than Strange World or Lightyear, because they didn't have anything that was, as far as I know, overtly political or overtly offensive. I mean, you just had what you paid for, Minion silliness and some things that the parents would like, but you didn't feel that you were being lectured to. So, and that's what's happened in the ESPN. People feel lectured when they watch, if they watch a football game, and you have to know about the Black national anthem and how you have to kneel.
Song.
And Colin Kaepernick, we discriminated against, and all this nonsense.
I'm only laughing because for John's show, he has to play the Black national anthem at the beginning of every show he does.
I do it every single show.
You have to every voice and sing.
Watching the Monday night.
Exactly.
Well, that's why a lot of people watch the Manning cast instead of the Monday night football stream, the main channel, because Peyton and Eli are just talking football, and that's what people want to watch is football. And they're bringing like people that just either are experts at football or hell, even like I think one of the most entertaining people they had on, they had Jon Stewart on, who was just funny as hell to watch commentate about football, for example. But that's what ESPN needs more of. I've seen a lot of people in the football chat that I was in. They would rather have the Manning cast be like the main Monday Night Football stream than,
Well, it's interesting. I remember the controversy when was it Rush Limbaugh did a couple of guest appearances on like one of those football games.
Sunday NFL Countdown. I remember this.
And there was controversy. It was like, oh, they're getting political. As far as I know, and I don't think I watched. I don't think he talked anything political except for maybe one thing that they
Rick,
wanted
to. This is something I reference time and again because of how right Rush Limbaugh was with what he said. Now, what he said got him fired or removed from the show. But what he said was that the media had an interest in seeing a black quarterback do well. And it had to do with Donovan McNabb in Philadelphia. And it's true. The defense and the running game carried that team up to a certain point. And I'm just saying, look at the water that is carried for Lamar Jackson in the sports media. That's all I'm going to say.
Yep.
Well, I defer to you both. I defer to you both. I defer to you guys because you follow football much more than I do. I only watch it if Gabe forces me to watch a Packer game. I don't want to say forces. I'll watch because he's a diehard Packer fan and I love him. The thing is, that got him thrown off, and that was political. Now you've got endless commentators have to talk about every kind of thing, George Floyd tearing down the statues, and now they didn't want to say Redskins because that was somehow worse, worse than Hitler. They didn't want to. They always kept the Washington football team. They didn't want to say Redskins, and now they've got that pig as their mascot.
Well, to be fair, that's appropriate because Washington is the land of government pork. So
but that goes back. That goes back to the Hogs, the offensive linemen from the 1980s. That's an old thing. The pig.
I wouldn't know. I only remember when the fans had those paper bags over their heads.
So it was a badge of courage, Rick. The Hogs, the offensive linemen that led the way for their rushing attack. They took pride in being called the Hogs. That's where it comes from.
Okay, well, you see, that's more than what I know.
Yeah.
But the commentators wouldn't say Redskins, and they're probably soon will have trouble saying Braves or Rangers or Padres because they're just so worried about that. They're injecting things that are irrelevant to the actual sports coverage, and that's why people are turning away from them. So the people
are you telling me that people don't like tuning in to ESPN and listening to 2 hours of Stephen A. Smith explain that the reason why Kyrie Irving is getting more heat for his comments is because he's black and this doesn't happen to white athletes?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I think it goes back to a certain person. I believe his name is Keith Olbermann, who decided that he was.
Oh gosh!
Who decided he was
him? Why'd you do this, Rick?
Yeah.
Hey.
Keep in mind, they brought him back not too long ago. He was only on ESPN maybe 3 years ago. Despite all the crazy out of whack shit he's done over the last 15 years, they still brought him back very recently.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think he's the genesis of all of this. And what's her name? Was it Janelle Hill as well?
Yeah.
So you've got people who seem more interested in pushing their own agenda, whatever it is, than in sports coverage. And people who generally care about sports, they're not going to tune in. They're not going to watch. And this is why ESPN, I don't even know who would want to buy ESPN unless, of course, they genuinely want to go back to excellence in sports programming network. They actually want to go back to just pure sports coverage. If they don't want to do that, if they want to double down and make it, what do they call it? ESPN and SNBC,
like that. ESPN or something like that.
Yes, then they're going to lose a few people. It's going in the network. It's going to sink. It's going to be what the sports version of G4.
Yeah, except for let's be honest, ESPN gets a few more viewers than G4 does. But I want to go ahead and get this one question out before we move on to our closer here. Nerdigans and Sarah, what did you guys think about Lightyear? We'll start with Sarah here.
I wouldn't touch it with a 10-foot pole.
So you're saying you're not a fan?
I would never watch it, never in my life. Well, I didn't even watch the fourth Toy Story. So
Yeah, me
Same
neither.
here. I didn't
care
even
for
see
that one.
Toy Story 4, and
I
I would
actually
not
like
see
Toy Story 4.
Lightyear either. To me, when I saw Lightyear, when I saw that trailer, I was like, dude, that is a Gears of War prequel, and I am surprised Microsoft did not sue.
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
You cannot tell me that did not look like a Gears of War prequel right there.
Also, this helps segue into the next topic, but Amsterdam was also a Disney property because it was released by 20th Century.
Oh yeah,
So
we'll get to that in a second. I just wanted to point this out before we go to our closer. I do say, yeah, it's been 3 years and people are still bitching about George Floyd. As Josh brought up earlier in the chat, you know, he was a big fan. I'm not sure if he still is now of English soccer, but all the English teams have now mandated kneeling before the games as a token of solidarity with Black Lives Matter and George Floyd. And it's like, he didn't even die in your country. It's like, why are you guys mandated this for all of your games? Every single team in the league now has to do it, or else you're considered a racist because you don't support George Floyd. And it's very quickly how that whole thing came about. And you wonder why people just don't want to watch sports anymore. It's because they literally can't escape it for 2 hours because you're shoving it right down their faces. And yeah, the 10-foot pole, exactly right.
Yeah, but then again, we have to remember they just got an Indian Hindu prime minister, or someone of South Indian descent, who was the first Hindu as their prime minister. So I don't know how they are so overtly racist and they're filled with evil when they've got their new prime minister, or newish prime minister, being a man of
well, their mayor is not exactly white either. The London mayor is not exactly white.
Sadiq Khan, yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, the bombing is just part and parcel of being in a big city, bro. So yeah. But let's move on to our closer here. Now, Rob, I've given you a lot of credit on this show for calling Margot Robbie a box office poison. And now there's a lot of people out there trying to defend Margot Robbie from that title because, I don't know if you noticed this, but her last few movies have not only bombed, but bumped horribly to the point where now articles are being written trying to defend her by saying, no, she's not box office poison. It's everybody else's fault except for hers. So I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of a stat here before we get on to this part of the story. There was 2 big movies that came out this year with Margot Robbie. It was Amsterdam, and then we had Babylon earlier this year as well. So if you combine the break-even number for both of these films, combined the break-even was $400 million. That's how much both of these films had to make before it even turned to profit. As of this writing, both movies have drawn a grand total of $40 million, which I don't know if you guys noticed, but it's a lot less than the $400 million needed to break even. So people have now begun to ask themselves, is Margot Robbie box office poison? Because Amsterdam bombed, Babylon bombed. If you go back to the Suicide Squad, which is the James Gunn movie, that one bombed, didn't do well at the box office. Birds of Prey also didn't do well at the box office. And keep in mind, that one came out before the COVID shutdown. So that's another one that didn't do well. So people are noticing that, hey, you have all these massive box office bombs with Margot Robbie attached to it. And now you're going to put her in Barbie, which apparently is another big release people are actually supposedly looking forward to next year. I guess we'll have to wait and see how well that does. But yeah, box office poison is added to her resume after 4 cataclysmic bombs in 2 years for Margot Robbie. I said, yeah, Margot Robbie, there's a few names in Hollywood guaranteed to bring in crowd base based on their name alone. It's beginning to look like that Robbie will never be one of them. With the 2-time Academy Award nominee, I'm assuming one was for I, Tonya, and the other one was for Bombshell, which I don't know how Bombshell got nominated, but whatever the case may be. And this is just saying that, you know, hey, she's very talented as an actress. And look, if you watched Babylon, she wasn't the worst part about that film, but she's also not someone that people are going to go pay to see at this point. And I don't think she produced Promising Young Woman. She didn't actually, wasn't in that, but she produced it. So maybe that was the other one hard. But yeah, Birds of Prey barely squeaked out $200 million globally, which means it only barely made back its production budget. The Suicide Squad, a movie that cost almost $200 million, didn't even make back its production budget. So that was another bomb as far as that goes. Amsterdam is going to lose about $100 million. It only turned like $31 million on an $80 million budget for that film. And then Babylon, which also had about an $80 million budget, has only turned around $11 million as well. So all of these films are just doing terribly. And a lot of people are starting to take notice that, hey, maybe don't put her in movies that you need a huge return from, because you're not going to get it back. Rob, I'll start this one out with you, since you're the one that coined the term box office poison. Is it over for Robbie at this point? Because I've been looking at her entire catalog, and I said it's been all downhill since I, Tanya. What is your thoughts on no one wanting to go see her movies at this point?
Yeah, well, the term box office poison was coined to describe Will Smith, because his run, I mean, they just kept putting him in stuff, and they kept failing time and time and time again. And it was, he tried putting his son in a movie with him by M. Night Shyamalan.
That was the beginning and the end, honestly. After Earth was, that was the beginning and the end for Will Smith. Like, he never recovered from that.
And what's so strange is he kind of recovered with King Richard, which I don't think is a good movie, but he was going to win Best Actor, and he did. Mm-hmm. He won the Best Actor Oscar, and then he slaps Chris Rock. So it's like you took all the goodwill you had, which wasn't much because of where we are currently, and the Academy Awards don't mean much, and you threw it away. So Margot Robbie, I've actually liked her. I liked her in Wolf of Wall Street. I liked her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Yeah. I think she's an attractive woman. I think that she garners a lot of interest. However, to say that she's a leading lady and that she should be paid like $10 to $20 million a picture, I don't think so. Yeah. I think like until she starts being in more successful projects, she really needs to go back to the basics, because every project she's associated with has either failed or at least underwhelmed according to what the projections were, or what, basically what they thought the business was going to be on it. So again, I don't think she's a bad actress. I don't know that she can open a movie. Like, people want to say, well, she's not the reason that Babylon failed or that Amsterdam failed. And I'd probably agree with that. However, she can't demand the kind of money if she's not bringing in butts and seats. She's not putting people in the theater because of her star power. Why are you paying her that much money? She's not producing for you. So, I know Hollywood's kind of a fickle system anyway, and how people make their money, and potential money laundering and creative financial tactics. But I really don't think she's worth that kind of money. So, and she's proven it time and again since The Wolf of Wall Street, which came out in 2013, to Babylon 2020 and 2022. Mm-hmm. She had 2, maybe 3 successful movies out of a dozen, out of 13 or 14, something like that. So not a good track record.
Well, John, let me ask you, are you a big fan of Miss Robbie here, or what do you think about her career trajectory at this point?
I can save her, Jacob.
You can save her. I believe so. I mean, like, look, here's another thing I think has been a big problem too. You notice this shift with her career is that she obviously got popular being kind of like the sexy bombshell character, because a lot of guys found her attractive in Wolf of Wall Street, right? So that was kind of like her blow up moment there. And then she did a few movies like around that time, and then it seems like she kind of bought into the narrative that a lot of Hollywood actresses have bought into post Me Too, that well, I don't have to be known for being a sex symbol anymore. I could be known for being, a quality actress. Like I said, she did I, Tonya, and I really liked I, Tonya. I like that movie, but everything she's done since then, outside of the Harley Quinn movies that she's done for DC, she's trying to be taken more seriously as an actress, but all of her efforts are just falling on deaf ears. Like, no one's coming to see serious actress Margot Robbie in any of these films at this point.
I'm not sure it's a Me Too thing necessarily, but I think a lot of the actresses that do get noticed for being pretty like that realize that your time's numbered, when that's the case. And so they have to try to shift. I think it's a marketing tactic more than anything, that like, I'm going to try to be a serious actress so that when I, hit the wall, which she's getting close to at this point, it's looking like that, that it's going to be a point where it's like she still has a career. And it didn't work in this case because she's not that good of an actress. That's all.
Well, I mean, I would take some contention with that. I think she is a competent actress. I think she can do good work. I mean, I have to remember. I think we all remember that she started out kind of like in a sex pot, like Wolf of Wall Street, and I think she did The Big Short as well. Where again, the things you
Bubble bath.
remember, that you remember that's the one
Yeah.
thing Gabe always remembers, just the bubble bath, and Wolf of Wall Street as well. And I Tanya showed that could be a very good actress. Since then, she's never been that big of a star. First off, so
Mhm.
the idea that she could open a film is really strange. Although one thing I would say that Box Office Poison actually started with like Joan Crawford and Marlene Dietrich. That's what they were called. So they were called when their movies would consistently fail, and she is. I don't know if it's fair to blame her exclusively for the failures of Amsterdam or Babylon. There were other factors, not just her own. She just happens to have the misfortune of being in these flops. So if she's seen as that connecting force, if she's seen as the common factor, she's going to get the blow. It's not sexism. It's not. Bashing her specifically, it's just right or wrong. She happens to be in movies that fail spectacularly, and uh, yes, she's getting the blame. I don't blame her exclusively for Babylon failing. I don't blame her for Amsterdam failing. I don't blame her specifically or exclusively, but yeah, she gets the blame
Let
because
me
she's in all of them.
let me ask Sarah this because I've noticed this with a lot of actresses. Now, Tessa Thompson is one that comes to mind to me, where she's been in a bunch of garbage movies too. But the media's reaction to all of her failure seems to be, "Don't blame her for the bad movies. Give her another chance. And even if we give her 6 and 7 and 8 chances, keep giving her chances because it's not her fault." Does it get to a point where you have to start blaming the actress or the actor for the movie qualities that they're a part of? It seems like, especially with like the female actresses, that we go out of our way to protect them from any negative ramifications of them being a part of movies that fail, rather than just admitting that, hey, look, maybe you're just not as big as a box office draw as some of these people want you to be.
Tessa Thompson, she's forever that actor.
I think you were breaking up there for
Robot.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
In the case of Tessa Thompson, like, she's a bad actor.
Yeah.
So she can't be in a good movie. Margot Robbie is actually a good actor in some movies. So
yeah. And then, Tessa Thompson is also sleeping with directors too, confirmed as well. But we kind of swept that one under the rug as well.
Well,
Can I just be honest and say I think Tessa Thompson is genuinely ugly, and I just don't want to look at her.
Wow.
I'm not gonna sit here and say Margot Robbie is, appealing for me to look at either, but I guess she's tolerable. Every movie that Margot Robbie's in, it just comes off as pretentious and annoying to me. Like, if I look at the cover, and at this point, I judge books by its cover when it comes to modern day film, because most of the time I'm probably right anyway, or at least right for me, what I'm interested in. She does a movie with what I'm looking at, this movie with Will Smith. I don't want to see that. Amsterdam looks pretentious as fuck. Yeah.
It is.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I still haven't watched that movie despite it. I'm hearing that it's good, but just the fact that that what's his face director, whatever the fuck his name is.
Tarantino.
Yeah, Tarantino can't decide whether he did an accurate depiction of Bruce Lee or his personal depiction, because he kept flip-flopping between that. That just made me say, well, I just don't care to watch your movie at this point, because I can't at least get a straight answer. If I got a straight answer, I'd see the fucking movie. But, like, can I just get one straight answer? The Suicide Squad movie, I saw the first one. It fucking sucked. Birds of Prey just looked like a hot, steaming pile of dog shit. Like, she's in a bunch of movies that I just would rather die than sit through. And the Barbie movie is definitely on that list. I don't need to see any trailers. I don't need to see any... Just the fact that it's Barbie. No. Period. So, I don't see her career getting any better. I mean,
And
this is
also-
my opinion, bro. I can't really speak for everyone else. That's just me personally. I don't really like watching the bitch.
And one more thing, I just wanted to throw this
Ace.
out here too. Yeah, exactly. But I just want to throw this out here too, is that she's also producing a lot of these movies that she's in as well. So people are saying, well, we can't really blame her for the movies. So keep in mind, she's the producer of a lot of these films. She produced I, Tonya. She produced a film called Terminal. I'm not even sure if anyone even remembers that movie from a few years ago.
It's terrible.
Yeah, not good. She produced Birds of Prey. She produced Promising Young Woman. She produced the Barbie movie that's coming out. Like, she's also behind the scenes in a lot of these aspects and a lot of these films that are flopping too. So it's like,
Did she also produce Babylon?
I do not believe she produced Babylon. No.
No. Okay.
No.
Yeah, she was only the star there, but there's also, like I said, she's also behind the scenes in a lot of these movies that are flopping as well. And look, when you're someone, you say, well, they're only an actor, you can't really blame them. But when you start getting into being actor / producer / writer / director, and you're doing all these jobs at once, and it's like, well, who else are we gonna blame? Just like when Nope sucked earlier this year, and that shitty movie. Well, Jordan Peele wrote it, directed it, fucking produced it. Did a lot of things behind the camera. So when that film sucks, who else are we supposed to blame besides Jordan Peele for the movie being shit? I mean,
Yeah.
Blame Keke Palmer.
Well, and the one takeaway from Nope is that it actually looks good, and of course, he hired a top-class cinematographer, an Oscar-winning cinematographer who's worked with Christopher Nolan. So it's like,
Yeah.
I mean, even okay, it looks nice, and then you added nothing to it. Thanks, Jordan. So, and
Like,
I
the
will
thing-
say this: Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, please watch it. Please watch it. The Bruce Lee scene is like not even a 5-minute
know.
scene, and it's
I know.
fucking Brad Pitt's own like story. He's telling, he's sort of like reminiscing on. So
Yeah.
I know,
Well,
it's
when it comes to
slightly
Jordan Peele,
disrespectful.
yeah, it is. But like when it comes to Jordan Peele, it's like, how can you try and write off his failures when if his movies were genuine successes, you'd be gargling this dude's ball sack? Like, can we just be honest for a
well, I mean,
minute?
his
Like,
films still suck, and they're still gargling his Bob sack. They're
Yeah.
trying to make it seem like that Nope was
Exactly.
his great horror movie. And then what was the other one before that? Us, which was also fucking shit too.
Hey,
Like-
don't forget that Get Out is on the Sight and Sound list of the 100 greatest films of all time.
And I was okay with Get Out, but it was okay. Like, I haven't watched the movie
Yeah.
since I went to the movie theater to watch the
Here's the thing with Get Out, and I liked the movie. I'm not gonna shit on it, but I liked it because it is an idea that worked once. Like, okay, yeah, using racism in the context of a horror film where you're playing on racism and tropes and lots of, okay, that's clever, fine. But when that just started becoming like his thing, like, oh, he's just gonna do this for every movie now, it's like, I'm out. And also, didn't he also produce or direct that Candyman bullshit from a couple of years ago too? I'm pretty sure.
I did.
He produced
Yeah.
it, yeah. Mhm.
So yeah, fuck Jordan Peele. That's all I gotta say there.
I will
So-
say from my perspective, like Margot Robbie's stuff doesn't strike me as particularly smart. And I'm not saying that she's dumb. I'm saying that her work is not particularly smart. It seems like a lot of her stuff revolves around, like you guys were saying earlier, like she's a bombshell actress. She looks nice. And so she's basically eye candy that can blink and smile and read her lines and stuff. And I'm just not interested in that
Yeah.
stuff. Like, and
Yeah.
maybe that's probably like the biggest failure of Me Too is not that women are like treated more like men, but they're not given like they're not actually given good material to work with, and they're not advocating it. Ugh, it's just, yeah. So
Yeah.
I was gonna say she got the Tanya Harding curse, I guess.
maybe I just I've seen some of her interview clips too, and she's kind of admitted to some like doing dumb things, and I don't think she would produce a particularly smart film. Like even Avatar, for all its flaws, it's smart enough to go with a generic line about families that most people across most cultures, including China,
Yeah.
can get behind. And that's a smart move. I can't see any. I wouldn't call her poison, but I wouldn't call her like what's the opposite of box office poison?
Box office
A
draw.
draw?
Yeah.
Yeah,
You can
I wouldn't
draw.
call her a draw.
Or as
either.
Jim Cornette once said, that she couldn't draw money with a green crayon.
Ew. I mean,
But
like,
the other side of it too is like who really is a draw. I mean, I know Tom Cruise is probably the last big movie
Yeah.
star out there these days. You know, I can't really think of anybody that, oh, so and so is in that movie. Oh, well, maybe I'll go see it. You know, I mean, some people,
part of
there's like
that-
a divide with Chris Pratt, and that's probably the closest person other than that.
Yeah, part of that has to do with what we've talked about over the last few years. There aren't really movie stars anymore. There's no larger than life entities in the Hollywood business because a lot of them have either burned their bridges with audience because they have to push their political agendas in front of the audiences, and now people don't want to go see them based off of that. And the fact that Hollywood doesn't
Except
want
for
a
Jennifer Lawrence. Because
Yeah.
she's the first female movie star,
ever.
Ever.
Before Jennifer Lawrence burned all her bridges, though, she had some good, smart films. Like she and Bradley Cooper had a few, like with Selena. She had
Yeah.
Joy. You know, she had some really decent work before she opened her mouth and said terrible things.
Will Smith was kind of a draw for a while until he got.
I think he
rather
peaked
artistic.
in 2004 with iRobot because that's a film that I will still watch, and that's even got Shia LaBeouf in it too. So,
But he got a little too artsy with 7 Pounds, Collateral Beauty, and then.
I mean,
he just
Hitch.
kinda
Everybody
went
loved him in Hitch, and it's.
Oh, I
just like-
never saw it.
Everybody loved that movie, and it was like, okay, that was like his last little stint before he kind of went off the
he
rails.
pulled a lot of the Fresh Prince of Bel Air
Bel-Air.
charm out of that one. Yeah, there you go.
Don't worry, I have those moments. But
I thought Will Smith was In Pursuit of Happiness, to be honest. That was when he was like at his peak.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But-
so like the early to mid aughts, he that's his peak, and then everything else.
Like I said,
instead of
Will Smith was better off when everyone thought that his marriage wasn't a sham, and then ever since that got
I think a
exposed,
lot
it's
of
been-
people hated that.
Yeah.
with Margot Robbie, I mean, fine. If you don't want to, if people want to defend her and say that she's not the sole reason a movie flops, that's a fair argument. But to say that she's being attacked because she's a woman, that it's sexism, that is when I think no, I don't think that's the case because Will Smith has been box office poison now for a while. Minus King Richard, and it was a terrible film. It's a terrible performance. It was just an Oscar baity thing. I rolled my eyes at how awful that performance was.
Also, keep in mind that had Will Smith had not slapped Chris Rock, they were going to try to do the Oscar bait again with Emancipation, that whole slave movie that he did late last year as well. But obviously, that whole thing went abrupt. It's like, yeah, we're not inviting this guy back here, so the movie's going to go out the window.
And that movie's sunk. That movie's just disappeared completely. We don't.
Well,
It's not even really that particular. Like I was saying, like Margot Robbie doesn't do anything that's really smart. Like Emancipation to me is not really a smart movie. If you put like black people being enslaved in the future, I think a lot more people would be interested in it. It's some kind of space opera, but like a lot of those movies have been done before. Like Denzel has like 2 of them.
There are people who insist that the reason she's being attacked, Margot Robbie, is because she's a woman, and that's the sole reason that she's getting the blame for all of these films flopping. I don't believe that is the case. But I don't. I don't think that it's because she's a woman. I think it's because she's Margot Robbie, and she again has had an unfortunate series of films that were either flops or that were just bad. And I don't think it would have improved if you had cast like Charlize Theron, if you had cast her in Hollywood Babylon. I don't think it would have improved the film. If you had her if you had Jennifer Lawrence in Amsterdam, I don't think it would have made the film any better. So maybe it's not fair because to blame her exclusively. That's my point. I don't think it's fair to blame her exclusively and solely for all of these films flopping. But to say that she's the one getting the blame because she is a woman, that I think is also an odd defense for her.
She's the whatever. I can't think right now, but basically she's the the common denominator to all these things that are failing. So you can look at Christian Bale, you can look at John David Washington. Both those people have been in successful movies relatively recently. So Margot Robbie can't make that claim. The problem is she's a star and that she's being paid all this money, and so there's a large expectation. So it's like you're asking for all this money and you're not producing. Yeah. That's why people are having this narrative of like, oh, you're box office poison, because there's a track record to make that argument.
Well, let's see how Barbie does. If Barbie flops, even with Ryan Gosling as
Greta
Ken,
Gerwig directing.
Yeah, after 4 mega flops, let's give her one more opportunity to see if she can draw money.
I know that I'm
you have
supposed
Ryan
to be.
Gosling, and you have the same. She has the same director with her that got her an award with Titania. So,
well,
go ahead, Rob.
The issue is, okay. Listen, just for the industry and for I hope it's a good movie. I hope the Barbie movie is a good movie, and I know that I shouldn't be prejudiced against a movie before I see it. However, I want this movie to fail. I want it to fail because I don't think Greta Gerwig's a very good director. I think that the trailer was so embarrassing to anybody who claims to love movies. Just kind of like slapping 2001 in the face like it doesn't matter. Yeah. Like, oh, hey, we could do whatever we want. I hate you so much for even thinking that as an idea. So look, again, so I preface it by saying, I hope it's good. I don't think it will be. And I want it to fail. So I'm just a walking contradiction at this point.
We're going to end up watching it.
Let's wrap things up here with what I believe is the greatest slave piece of our generation. Now, I'm going to go ahead and put it on the screen for you guys right now. So here you go.
Probably, yeah. I wish I would have I wish I would have where's my iconic slave role? Hey, motherfucker. I wish I would have all y'all! All y'all! Warp speed, don't rainbow read me, nigga!
So yeah, hopefully he'll get an Academy Award for that one.
Resident Evil. That's all I can say. I love Lance Reddick.
And as we're about to get ready to sign off here, let's all give a good welcome to our good buddy Josh, who decides to join us 2 hours and 13 minutes into the stream after we're about to sign up here. How you doing, Josh?
Yeah. Well, hey, what's up, mate?
Hey.
What's up, everybody? Yeah. Hold on.
What's up, bro?
Yeah. So yeah, basically, I just wanted to join because you all, just like talking about Margot Robbie and stuff like that. And I was like, yeah, well, like I say in one of the comments, I just didn't know who she was until I saw Suicide Squad. And I was immediately annoyed, like honestly super annoyed. And then there was like, oh gosh, the second movie. Was it the second movie? Yeah. I don't know if it's a reboot or nobody knows.
No one.
And
it
it's
doesn't
also
matter.
incredibly disappointing. It's incredibly annoying. And Margot Robbie is in it as well. And the Birds of Prey movie, I didn't care for. So I didn't watch that one. So.
Well, technically, this is Josh's first appearance on the show in months, so it was a very memorable one. But we are going to go ahead and slowly sign off here. So I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to shill all your shit. So let's start with Miss C.S. Johnson here. I'm going to put your link in the chat. What do you got coming up that people should know about?
Maybe an angry Twitter horde after my last comments. This year I've got my first comic book's coming out.
Wow.
Yep. Following in your footsteps, JDA. So
Aw.
Yep. I gotta finish up Fat Girl too. Unironically, that was also dedicated to you. So
Dedicated to me?
Yeah, the first
Oh,
book
wow,
says
I'm gonna
these are
blush.
for my friend.
Really?
Yes. I can see you haven't read it.
No, send me the link.
Okay. Well, anyway,
Okay.
I got to finish up Fat Girl.
Okay.
So Fat Girl's my model wannabe, eats a radioactive donut, becomes an accidental fat superhero when she stops a terrorist attack. It's funny. She sits on her people. And you play it, it's funny.
It's a very body positive superhero. Let's put it that way.
The fun part is that, well, just go read it, figure it out for yourself. But anyway, she teams up with her grandmother, who just got fired from her cushy government job, and she's going, kind of all guerrilla warfare on them. So it's an interesting mix. So if you like Helen Mirren. And that Rita lady you were talking about earlier.
Dame Helen Mirren.
Okay, Dame Yes, Marino. Yes. So there you go. Perfect casting right there. Margot Robbie and Rita Moreno and Helen Mirren can all star.
Dame Helen Mirren.
Dame.
Who cares about the British president? It's not even a real country.
No. Hold on. Right, C.S. Johnson. Let's have it right. All right. Dame.
Dame Helen Mirren and Margot Robbie can star in the widescreen adaptation of Fat Girl. Yes, there you go. That's mostly it. I'm working on putting a lot of my audiobook stuff up on YouTube and doing some other videos and stuff too. So subscribe to my channel. So.
All right, join us from the comfy confines of Washington, Mr. Rob Motto. What do you got coming up, Rob?
Yeah, so I'm actually starting a John Woo retrospective because I've never watched his movies, and apparently he's a big influence on a lot of the action movies I like. So that kind of spans from A Better Tomorrow to the movie Face Off, which is a movie I've never seen because when I read the plot, my mind reeled backwards and I thought it was so fucking stupid. I was like, I'm never watching that movie. And then apparently like a good action director is behind it. So now I have to. So I will be writing a review following me watching each movie. And I'm also going to be releasing written reviews for each movie that we cover on the Monday night movie stream. So I guess the first one of the year will be Megan. So I am, I can't say I'm looking forward to it, but I am looking forward to getting back to writing. So check out my Twitter. It's right there. And yeah, hopefully it's good.
All righty then. Nerdigans. This is your time to shine. Don't blow it.
So on Nerdigans Inc., I'm going to be recording a couple of videos after this. I record, of course, manga and anime content all day, every day. Oh, it feels like it. Because manga never sleeps, and neither do I, especially in the midst of my struggle.
Especially with that time zone difference. I mean, Jesus.
I know, especially since for Bounding, I interviewed the mangaka of one of the, well, I'd like to consider the next generation of horror manga, Tokyo Underworld. Oh, I love that manga. It's my favorite new series of that came out in 2022. Yes. And that interview hopefully will be up soon. I just have to I'm getting one more image. I'm going to get a special image, custom image drawn from the mangaka. And something that's cool about her, about Sakaki, is not only is she a woman, she's actually a working mother as well. So she is a mother, wife, and she's balancing that with the weekly serialization to boot. So it was really interesting talking to her about that, as well as doing a horror series. She had one thing that she did say was she had to put off the serialization to make sure that she could, balance everything with her family. So I thought that was really interesting. But anyways, there's more content to come, whether it be with manga from an anime from my channel, and hopefully more stories to come on Bounding, and hopefully enough so I don't have to get a second job. We'll see how things go. But are we doing a stream tomorrow, Jacob, or what's going on with that?
No, I'm gonna put Retro Wave on hold. I want to reamp the show, so we'll keep it on hold for a couple weeks, and then we'll come back later on. So,
all right, and then we'll be back here, obviously, on Tuesday. So Stay tuned.
All right, then over to our miserable Jets fan over here, Cassie. How you doing? How's the new hair treating you? What you got coming up?
Well, apparently, I gave myself an emo haircut, so that's just gonna deal with that. Because I do cut my own hair. I've convinced myself that I will have a shit haircut until I learn a skill. So that's what I've been doing for like the past year and a half or so. So I guess I know most people wouldn't be able to deal with that, but I'm fine with it.
So what's the haircut? Do you look like Gerard Way now?
I was described to look like a 90s Eddie Guerrero. I don't know if I could.
Here we go.
Yeah, you do have a little
Let's
Dominic Mysterio going right now. So there's that.
Nah, give me Eddie Guerrero, and you know what? Jacob, you yourself can get a wig and you could be my China. How about that?
Nah, you miss me with that shit. I won't have to date Triple H and then go into porn. So no.
and
I hear other YouTubers are going into
wear
porn.
green makeup. That's the real She-Hulk. Damn it! I don't care what anybody says.
Oh God.
Well, that's a damn Slott.
Pretty much, but we have the Too Real for Feels podcast coming up this Thursday. We're gonna talk about the upcoming video games that are coming up. Some things are definitely sus, and some things are maybe a little bit exciting. This could potentially be the best year of gaming in a really long time, maybe. So yeah, if you want to check that out, hit me up on my YouTube channel, Cult Classic Cage.
All right, and hold on a second. Wait for it. Sarah, how you doing?
Good. I don't have anything new coming up. Just follow me on Twitter and read my reviews that I link there. You all have to go read Avatar so you know why it's a good movie.
All right, then let's move on to somebody else now. Rick, you still there, buddy?
Oh yeah, I'm still here. I just wanted to again show off this little design.
Yeah.
So, yes, it kind of reflects my life. Although now I'm disappointed that Gene Kelly apparently had a hairpiece. So I'm shocked.
It just means that you have to buy a hairpiece, Rick.
Yeah.
Why? I mean, I've never worried about my hair.
You know what? Just shave your head and then buy it.
You should get an emo haircut.
Yeah, do it.
Get
I'm
like
not
a fake mustache then.
I had
No.
a real mustache for many years.
Get the buzz cut that Jim Carrey got in Me, Myself, and Irene.
Yep, that's good.
I don't know about that.
Get like a mustache twirler, handlebar mustache. Yes.
I did have a mustache for several years. I graduated with one.
Then you got to develop the
We'll
the
get some
British
eyebrows then.
evil man person.
Omni eyebrows.
No, I like my eyebrows. Anyway, so what do I have coming up? I'm probably going to review finally Avatar, which to some people is the Citizen Kane of their generation. That's nuts. And I'm also hopefully going to also review the Whitney movie, and that's so that's also coming up. I just submitted the names. I just submitted my nominations for the Online Film Critics Society awards, and actually that was I found some good ones, but some of them was like normal years. I would not have even considered it, but I'm so desperate for any names. I had to submit some that were like, it's not the best work, but it's what all I could find. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Just getting ready to watch more movies, clear out my DVR, and yep, that's it. And it's pretty quiet.
All right, then, Josh, go ahead and say your stuff so I can get you off the screen.
I've got nothing, mate.
Josh,
Tell us
ladies
what
and
other
gentlemen.
movies that you've been.
I was like, you already shunning me, and I'm like, what have you got to offer? And I'm like, no, well, I don't think I've got any.
Bounding in the comics, bounding in the sports, nothing.
No. Even if I do, I'm like, nah.
Josh at least knows that it's Dame Helen Mirren, so that's a plus.
Yeah.
Okay. This was a mistake. Thanks, Josh. John, what do you got coming up there, buddy?
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Buy C.S. Johnson's books on Amazon. That's what I gotta say.
Oh well, I can chill your stuff just as easily as you show mine. So.
No, you can't. We're shilling your books.
Okay, well, I don't know. I'm not supposed to fight with men, so.
That's right. So women out there, make sure to listen to men and obey us as the Lord commanded you. And that's all I gotta say.
Everyone, go watch John's version of Robin Hood. It's one of my favorite movies.
All right then. Well, I guess it's time to swing it back over here. Let you guys know what we got coming up. This Saturday, Saturday at about 5 p.m. Eastern time, we're going to be doing our best and worst films of the year. We're going to be going through all of 2022. Rob's going to be there. Sarah's going to be there. Christian Toto is going to be there, and I think that's kind of it right now. We're looking to see if I
Christian
can squeeze
Toto,
in.
that's a celebrity.
Yep.
I love that guy.
We're hoping to get a couple other guys on for that stream too. But that's going to be Saturday night.
You, mate. I'll join you.
Fine, bring it on. Josh will be there too. He won't say anything, but he'll be there.
Booze? Is it going to be any booze there?
I mean,
I'll bring my. No, don't worry, mate. I'll bring my own.
I got this. Whatever is left of here. So
yeah.
Good choice.
I'm drinking the Irish thing.
Yep, so that's going to be Saturday night, best and worst films of the year. Monday, this coming Monday, myself, Rick, and Rob are going to be reviewing the movie Megan, so hopefully that doesn't suck. So, we're trying to get back into the swing of things. Then next week, episode 31, the Barroom Podcast. Tomorrow, I'm not sure if we're doing the Black Pill stream tomorrow because there's a lot going on right now with a few of our guys, so I'm not sure exactly how the stream is going to get handled for the next couple of weeks, so just stay tuned as far as that goes. But I got a couple things coming up and bounding in the comics that are on the pending side right now. So if this guy over here helps us, edit some articles, you may see some of those things.
I was actually looking at your top 10s. So I will be just helping out a little bit because Spencer, he's like dealing with some other stuff. So yeah, absolutely.
So that's pretty much everything that I have coming up right now. Then if you haven't noticed over the last few days, I've been in limbo here for the last few days. I've started putting up 1 minute reviews on my YouTube for YouTube Shorts, and they're actually doing pretty well so far. So I'm going to keep posting a lot of 1 minute reviews onto the site until we come back for our streaming nights. So I guess next time we'll see you guys will be on Saturday. Then we'll be back for Monday's show. And then keep in mind, we also have a UFC event coming up here in a couple of weeks, so we'll be doing that one as well. So for everyone who joined us tonight, I mean, this was a packed house tonight. Obviously, not just the panel, but the chat who was here tonight. There's so many people, I can't remember them all, but obviously Stephen Walton was here for a good portion of the night. Mrs. Flu, Neo, Duke Nukem, Spencer, Josh. I mean, like I said, there were so many people in and out of the chat. Alex versus Evil. I'm not going to name you all, Zero Dozer, but for everyone who joined us tonight, everyone who watched the show. Master of TDS, who did a little drive-by for us here tonight. So everyone who joined us, thank you very much. This is probably one of our highest rated shows to date. We'll see how this one goes. And then to all of my panel here, Rob, Cassie, Sarah, Nerdigans, John, Rick, I guess Josh too, and then Johnson. All of you guys, I appreciate you guys, and you're all welcome to join us if you want to be on stream for next week's show. Hopefully we'll get you back for next week. But it's late. I know you guys got some stuff to do, so we're going ahead, hit the outro here. We will see you guys next week here on the podcast. Thank you for joining us. Like and subscribe. Let's get out of here. Hit the was it Spring Yard? Just hit Spring Yard and go home. So
Spring Yard,
everybody.